Relax and get loose while I put you up on game. The Figure Booth with Josh and Nate. This that podcast folk. Those in the know. Batman vs. Iron Man. How would it go? We talking one of a kind. Collectibles. Mezco toys are respectable. It's unacceptable if it's not in the packaging. Nate don't take pics if you ain't rapping it. Nate's dirty tricks are always happening. But damn it, man, don't you be stressing. Round here we believe in plastic confessions. We trying to figure out the figures that's gonna stand the test of time. That G.I. Joe handmade hit me in the spine. There's perfection in the way that these toys are made. But I also wanna know, do I pick Wade or Slade? So this is where I come to kick it with the guys. The Figure Booth. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Welcome back, Toy Fam. You have made it to another episode of the Figure Booth. I am your host, Josh, aka Prime to the First.
Hey guys, this is Nate, aka FigureFan_Nate, and you've reached episode 35, which we're calling the Money Shot.
What better else to call it than the Money Shot? Our next guest, man, this guy is known, and we're keeping that same theme. We're keeping it international. We're going in a different direction now. We're heading up north, right?
That's right.
They know him by many names. He's a master of all sorts of different skills. Could be the next enabler. He's enabled me on a couple of items. Tames wild beast, from the smallest felines to the largest felines, straight from the litter box, the kitty litter box. We'll find out. Let's give it up for Jason B. Michael.
Hey guys, that's perfect.
Welcome, sir. You made it to the Figure Booth.
Yes, sir. I'm very excited about this. This is super fun.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Jason. We're obviously huge fans of your work.
Thanks.
We're friends with you as well. We've talked to you in DMs quite a few times.
Oh yeah.
Just kind of shared ideas. So it's only logical to have you on the show and kind of pick your brain about your toy photography, because you're a big name in the community, man. Everybody knows who you are.
Yep.
Every time you post a shot, it just blows up.
Yeah.
You're a master of your craft. So we just want to get to know you a little bit better, and things that people might not know about you, because they can maybe only connect through your Instagram page.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to ask those types of questions and kind of just dig in a little bit. So we appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you guys having me, man. This is going to be so much fun. Thanks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So first thing, we always do a little bit of digging into your history.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Some dirt.
stalking your Instagram page.
Oh, there's so much dirt there, man.
A lot of dirt. I got dirty.
There's a lot of dirt. But what I noticed is that your first post was back in 2017. So you've been on Instagram for what, 5-6 years?
Oh, I deleted most of this stuff. When people start like shifting towards toy photography, they only kind of leave the relevant stuff there. I had stuff way before that, but it was more like, me smoking cigars, family pictures or some goofy crap that I like to share and stuff like that. But once I decided to make the shift and kind of focus it, I left a few of my short films there. I think there's a shot from 2017 where I'm fooling around with I don't know what.
Yeah.
I think it's action figures on the table or something. I found out how to do a lightsaber effect, and I kind of left that there because I thought it was funny. But it kind of also showed that I've been fooling around with toys for quite a bit. Quite some time. So yeah, I just kept it there because it was relevant.
Yeah, well, you answered my next question. I was going to ask if you had deleted some, but it makes sense. I think we've all kind of shifted a little bit from where we started to where we ended up. Like I started as a toy collector. I was all just posting my collection, trying to find people to buy things from, and then it shifted into toy photography. So yeah, I've archived things, deleted things, trying to keep things focused. So yeah, that makes sense.
And Jay, have you always been a collector?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, that's the strange thing to me is that I've had toys for the longest time. I started collecting more like actively, I'd say, when I was in college, so roughly 20 years ago, and I was a let them breathe guy, so I would like unpackage all of them and all that stuff. The only thing is I don't remember what I did with those toys. I don't have them anymore. Like I had all the old Toy Biz, X-Men stuff and all that stuff. I had Colossus. I think I still have Wolverine and Gambit here somewhere, but I had Blade. I had like almost all of them, and I have no idea where I put those. I might have given them to my nephew, or and he got rid of them. Or I remember like there were kids growing up in my neighborhood where I was living at the time that I know I handed off a few toys to because I didn't figure, I was going to carry them around. And plus, moving from place to place, like when you're in college, you just keep changing apartments. Yeah. So a lot of them got damaged in time, and so I figured, screw this. I don't need to carry these things around. But slowly but surely, I started getting into the Black Series, roughly around, I'd say 2016, right. And just trying to track down a few that I thought looked cool. But I mean, The Force Awakens is what really brought me back into toy collecting. I only had a few collectibles at my place that I really enjoyed, like a Buzz Lightyear figure that I have, a few Ninja Turtles from 1988. Mm-hmm. So those are all like mint on card. I had to sell a few of those, but yeah, man, I've been collecting left and right for I don't know how long. I shifted so many different types of collections. Like I'm actually weaning down my movie collection right now. For a time, I had like 3,500 films here, and now I've kind of sold off maybe 1,500 of them. Same thing with CDs. So I've been a hoarder most of my life, I guess. That's probably the best way to put it.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, toy collectors in general are kind of hoarders. Yeah. You kind of have to be a collector because you have all this stuff that you're collecting. But I mean, it's rare that you see people that actually save any of the original toys they had when they were kids, because you just don't think about it back then. It's like, oh no, you're playing with this. Yeah, I'm destroying my toys. I don't care the quality. It's like, and then you grow up and you look back, you're like, damn, I had some rare stuff. I had some valuable things. I wish I would have kept all that.
They're rare now, but they weren't rare at the time. The reason they're rare is because we beat the shit out of them when we were kids. Yeah. There's only that one guy that no one talked to who's rich now as a result. It's like, what do you do with your toys? I keep them in their cases. Way. No one wants to play with you. That's why I keep them in their cases.
Yeah, grading is the way to go now, it seems, as an adult, to make some money off your old stuff. Oh, yeah. But I think at one point I saw that you still had like a Playmates Donatello or something. I can't remember where I saw you share this before.
Yeah, I have Michelangelo and Leonardo. So I have both soft heads. So the original, the 1988 ones.
Wow.
And I'm debating whether or not I should get rid of Leonardo. There's a buddy of mine who's been really helpful and helped me track down some figures, and he hasn't been charging me a fortune for them. Some of them he hasn't charged me anything for. And I know he's a big Ninja Turtles fan. The thing is that there's so many like fond memories of mine that are attached to those two turtles. I'd like to have the brothers, but I figure that if I sell off or if I give Leonardo to my friend, then I'll just keep the one that I really, really want. But now having the two, it feels like I need all four. Yeah. So I'm in this weird position where I have to kind of sneak around, making sure that my girlfriend's not looking at what I'm looking at on eBay. So I'm just trying to figure out what I should do with them. But yeah, I still have those two. Those are they're so cool, man. I'd like to buy loose ones just to get the feel for them again, because I haven't, felt one of those Ninja Turtles in such a long time. And I think that growing up, just the texture of those things will bring back, some of those memories that are going to be really, really enriching for me anyway. There's a nostalgia there. I still love those figures quite a bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, with the soft heads, I mean, that's talk about valuable. Those are probably the rarest of the rare Playmates that you can find. They're, because I think they switched production early on to the harder plastic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'd have to check and see to make sure that Michelangelo is. I know Leonardo is for a fact because he has that fan club thing inside. Michelangelo does not, but he does have a 10 back. So that's kind of good. As soon as they go past the 10 back, then we know they're officially hardheads. But now this is a 10 back, and I'm wondering, because all the markings are for the soft head. So I'm like, okay, this seems to be right, but he's still missing that fan club little sheet inside, which gives it that, that extra boost for, there's no way this is not a soft head.
Right, right. Speaking of turtles, I have to ask you, what's your favorite? Which one?
Michelangelo, always me.
All right, let's get him off the show. Get him out of here.
But the reason is because I've never been a leader type. So Leonardo was always sort of like a buzzkill in a sense for me specifically.
Leo is a
Raphael was just a bully. Donatello was the smart one, but at the same time I enjoyed being around the smart people. But I've always wanted to be someone who is relatively funny. And so I always gravitated towards Michelangelo because he was more of idealistic, naive individual, and that to me represented me very, very much at that time.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you hear why people have a certain favorite. you know, in retrospect, you know, I actually did like the leaders. I was a big leader fan. I liked the guys that were leading the team. So Leo's kind of always been my jam. But as I get older, I feel like I probably gravitate a little bit more maybe to Donnie, just because that's how I am personally.
Right.
But I mean, you can't really go wrong with any of the turtles.
Yeah.
So
Oh no,
you can't. You need them all.
The interesting thing about the turtles and the way that they've been, you know, put together is that I feel like they represent different phases of everyone's life. You know what I mean? You know, I find myself in positions where I have to be like Leonardo, especially having kids.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Raphael on occasion as well, being the person that needs to draw the line at some place and just be a hard head. That's great. Yeah. And I mean, I'm relatively educated, so Donatello is someone I understand.
Yeah. And then when it's time to party, you know, the fun guy comes out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, hopefully, anyway.
That's cool, though. So going back again to kind of like your Instagram history.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought was really interesting, and it's one of your first posts, or it might be your first one. You're directing a horror film with your daughter.
Yeah.
And you said it's like a 15-second horror film. You can see that you're kind of directing her. You've got the camera over her shoulder. And then shortly after that, there's something called The Delivery.
Yeah.
That is on your page. So was that filming for that? Was your daughter part of that? Or is that something that was another one.
But back when I was making short films, because initially that's what I gravitated towards. I'm a movie guy. You know what I mean? As I was saying, I had a huge collection of films. I'm trying to whittle that down to a sizable collection of things that I know I'm going to enjoy and revisit. You know, so I kept everything that had to do with the Criterion Collection because I like, you know, older films in the 50s and 60s. I'm a huge fan of French cinema as well, and so I'm trying to keep those things. So, you know, film has always been a big part of my life ever since I've been a kid. I mean, I've been watching movies. I've seen thousands, and you know, it's just I've kind of fallen a little bit out of love with cinema. But I know there's still something there because when I start talking about it with people, I mean, it kicks back in, you know, like, oh, maybe I should go check that out again, you know, and sit down in the afternoon. But maybe I haven't fallen out of love with it, but just ran out of time to sit down and actually watch. Because I was watching like between, I don't know, 7 and 8 films a week at one point and just trying to, you know, get through it. And I had a film podcast at some point. And so I've always wanted to make movies, and I even remember talking to my parents about wanting to go into film and all that stuff. But growing up in a small town, 23,000 people, you know, you start talking about those things, but you're talking to people that don't necessarily understand what that is. They see something on TV, but you know, a lot of them work in factories and plants and things like that, so they don't understand the entertainment business. And my parents, my mom, yes, my father was like, well, you need to find, you know, a job before you actually go in to do something like that. No matter how many times I tell them, you know, that these people actually have jobs. These are actual jobs. You know what I mean? But he says, yes, but it's you'd be running from place to place to place, and you know, you'd be financially unstable a long time. And so now, in hindsight, I'm like, well, I mean, that's a lack of confidence in me. You know, maybe I should have risked it all and done something with that. So anyway. I had started writing, you know, short films, and I started trying to produce them, putting money aside for them, and trying to piece things together. But as I was growing up, it became increasingly harder to find people that were reliable to work with. It's becoming incredibly expensive. Not that collecting toys is less expensive, but and just, you know, writing became a nuisance to me because I really like the editing process. I like the directing process. I like learning about cameras and all that stuff. And so even finding people to write scripts that were kind of, you have an idea and you're trying to translate it and it just doesn't come out the right way, you know. And so there's a lot of time that's, I'll say wasted because I feel that it's that, but I understand that the creative process is not the same for everybody. So those 15-second horror shorts, I figured that that's the way my brain worked, and this is a competition that's hosted by Trauma, essentially. So Lloyd Kaufman is a guy that's involved. He's one of the judges, but this is based out of Ottawa in Ontario in Canada. And what they have is they have an international horror film contest, but all horror films that are presented are actually 15 seconds. So essentially, which is great because basically you have 5 seconds for your first act, 5 seconds for your second act, and 5 seconds for the third act. And I was like, that's interesting. That means I can shoot this in a day and get it over with. And I have a buddy here in Quebec City who's a really good friend of mine, who's always trying to get me back to, start shooting short films because he likes the way I work. So I'll go help him on his things, but, just trying to get a little bit more experience on film sets and things like that. You start realizing, especially in like where I am in Quebec, and it's probably the same anywhere else, it's very click oriented. And so if you're not really part of it, or if your family's not necessarily part of it, it's very, very difficult to actually get callbacks. So I've been taking odd jobs for free, in exchange for like put me on the film set so I can learn. So people quickly take advantage of that. And it's frustrating because you're not getting paid. And you realize quickly also that most of the individuals are just happy you're working for free because they get to keep the money. And they have no intention of having you upgrade. And as soon as you ask for a favor, well, then it's no. So I started getting pissed, and I decided, screw this. I got to end this at some point because it's just not fun. So I got one good thing out of it where I did get help. I directed a short 30-second ad for Crash the Super Bowl contest, like for Doritos. And I was really, really proud of that one. It wasn't chosen for the win. But the 15-second horror shorts, because I could only shoot in a day, I did one, I don't remember the title of it, and that's the one that you're talking about, where I was with my daughter. I was directing it, and I was the babysitter. And the babysitter is, you had this little girl basically that was drawing something, and you hear her babysitter in the background talking, and the kid gets annoyed with her, and what she does is essentially she focuses on her drawing. The drawing comes alive. She slashes the drawing's throat, and it kills the babysitter. So it's kind of like this weird little, I don't know, mystical shit that was going on, And so that was fun. I managed to do that. There were a couple of rigs that I wanted, like when you watch closely, we worked for like 2.5 hours to make sure that there was a shadow on the wall that looked like a monster. Oh, wow. No one knows it's there but me. And the guy that was filming, he says, no one's going to notice that. And I was like, I don't give a shit. I want there to be a monster in the room, and if someone notices there's a shape with teeth there, they'll get it. There's a monster in the room. And so that was fun. I think there were 500 and some odd entries in that, and I finished 8th, which was super fun.
Wow. Yeah.
Fuck off. And
there he is.
The monster's coming back.
And the following year, my buddy said, you finished 8th, man. There's no way you shouldn't do it again this year. And so I did.
That's out of 500. That's impressive.
Yeah, and then there was, I think it was roughly the same amount of people, and I think I finished 10th. I made it the top 20. I finished 12th. The 11th the second year, and that was the delivery. That one I really love because I get to do it with my kids and my wife, and it was just macabre enough for me because I got a giggle out of it. But I managed to traumatize my youngest daughter because we were drenching her in this fake blood corn syrup that was cold. And she didn't think it was going to look that gory. And so at one point I see her and like she's kind of like tearing up. And I'm like, are you okay? And she says, I don't understand. Like, it looks like death. It looks like death everywhere. I was like, but you realize that it's just like, corn syrup, She's like, yeah, but I'm cold. It's uncomfortable. So cleaning the kids after that was hilarious.
That's funny. You're traumatizing your daughter at a young age.
It's my job. That's what I have to do. So that's
I watched that
films. It was fun.
I watched that one, and it starts out, fairly normal. You're like, okay, well, this is, somebody delivering a baby, and then it ends just so horribly. You're like, oh my God, I can see why you put the hyphen in delivery, because deli.
Exactly. Very good. Very good. That's good. Everyone asked me, why'd you put the hyphen in there? Deli.
Yeah, it's deli. You got to check it out. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. If you guys want to see it, go into Jason's history.
Oh,
it's great.
But it's awesome. Yeah, and I kept my daughter laughs at the end. You see it in the corner, and like a lot of people when they were watching it on YouTube, because it got like I don't know how many couple of million views, and it was one of those things where, you know, a lot of the people that were criticism, because YouTube is YouTube and social media is social media, they essentially were like, these aren't horror films, they're more like B-rated bullshit crap, and like, you know, everyone like, well, you go make your own fucking movie. Right. I mean I did it because it's funny. That's basically why I did it. So, but so if you want to have at it, it's nothing special. It's just fun.
That's cool though. I mean, it tells a lot kind of about your history. You can sort of see that come through and even your shots now, because a lot of things that you do feel very cinematic. You know, you're building this scene, you've got like just this epic setup going on. It looks like, you know, I'm kind of watching a movie in a way, but through toy photography, just the way that you set up stuff. And, you know, there's always some like little secrets hidden throughout your shots and things that I'm kind of looking around the screen for. You know, it's not just the one central character. You've always got something kind of hidden throughout. Yeah. And kind of like you're talking about the monster shadow, I can see that in a lot of your work where you're doing that pretty frequently. Something that might, you know, the average person as they're scrolling might not see it, but if you study that photo, you're going to notice all these little nuances going on throughout the scene. So I can definitely see kind of that background coming through in your work. And
thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Is that where you started learning about photography and kind of how to operate a camera?
Oh, no, not at all. I knew a little bit about focus and things like that, but I always had to get friends around me to do the lighting and stuff, you know, because I didn't understand. Even like my first short film, there was a scene that I was trying to cut because I like very defined shadows, and in films, especially like if you look at Clint Eastwood's later work, you know, around Mystic River and $1 Million Baby and things like that, his lighting is always like super like sharp. And I love that stuff. I try to work on that as well. That's why I like the rim lighting in the photos that I take now. But it was when I started learning about pictures, it was really as I progressed with toy photography, because most of the time when I was working on short films, I'm busy with the actors. And then after that, I'm in the editing room. So I'm not really operating the camera. I kind of tell the guy, like, hey, I'd like this. If you can do a focus shift there, you know, focus pull this and that. And if we're going to focus there, set the camera up here so we can kind of just, you know, pan over to this. And, you know, if we're going to tilt the camera up or down, it would be really fun to say that, yeah, I did learn from there. I think that I did learn quite a bit from watching movies, you know, just trying to set up. But I still feel like I'm learning now. Every time I set up is a new process, and I feel it's still a work in progress. I haven't figured it out yet. You know what I mean? It's still difficult. Let's put it that way. It's still difficult. There are a few shots, like my recent shots. I mean, I've been struggling creatively. Because of work and just, you know, general life things that I have to take care of. So my output has gone down, and I have trouble kind of finding like ideas. It's not like when in the summer when I'm off because I'm a teacher, you know, then, you know, boom, ideas start pouring out and I'm having a great time. Right now, I'm just like, okay, let's try to figure something out. You know what I mean? So I'm shooting fast. I'm not taking the time to do anything like that. So I'm not learning as much right now, and I don't feel like I'm taking as many risks. But no, I started learning. I think it's been a process for a long time, but until I actually started using, you know, the camera that I have, I didn't know anything. I just started reading, watching tutorials, gathering as much information as I can to understand. And even to this day, I'm pretty sure that I only know about 25% of what my camera can do. So
it's definitely something.
That's crazy.
Sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
No, I was gonna say that's crazy because the progression, and I think just the way you've approached it, you're really like more than just open mind, but really emptying the cup and saying like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm gonna go do some research, and really apply it, and state that you don't know your process and you're trying to figure it out. Because I think sometimes some photographers, and I know myself, like I've been where I was really messing with toy photography and I felt comfortable with my process, then I become stagnant and I don't learn other skills or techniques. But I think with your photography, it's always something new. There's always it's always evolving. So I don't know. I really find it fascinating for you to say like, oh, I don't understand my process yet. Because I would think looking inside from outside perspective, that you would have like this refined process. You storyboard everything, you go from like you got it figured. I'm like, man, Jason's like a master, and that I think to me, from a beginner, like someone that's a novice looking up to you, like an account like yours, would be super intimidating and be like, I can never be at that level.
Oh, well, no, I hope not. And that's something that a few people have mentioned, when I see comments on like Mezco or even in the Mezco groups and things like that, it's like, well, when we're participating in contests or things like that, and I post something then I'll see comments underneath like, this is why I chose not to post. How am I going to fucking win? Like my job is, I'm just participating. I'm like a regular guy trying to do my shit. I don't get paid for any of this stuff. I'm just throwing shit at the wall to see if it sticks. You know what I mean? For every shot that's good, there's probably 50 that didn't work out. You know what I mean? Where I'm just walking around the house mopey.
No, but I think that I can applaud that even more because you're so humble about it. You're like, hey, I'm just a regular dude trying to figure it out because I still haven't figured it out. And I'm just throwing my name in the ring, right? And you break it down. I love your BTS because again, it's like a movie. Your shots say so much. There's a lot of emotion to it. It does feel like it's a snapshot from a movie, and I'm like, damn, I wish this was like a short film. And that kind of it. I don't know. You may not do it. You may be doing it subconsciously, but that's the way it comes off. Because when Nate said, it's like a snapshot from a movie, and I see your BTS, I'm like, damn, Jason puts in a lot of time. There's a lot of work behind this, where I can appreciate the craft, and for you to be like, hey, here's the way I did it. That should encourage more of us to be like, oh yeah, if Jason can do it, then I can do it because he's laying it all out.
Yes, please. Yeah. I'd love that if people saw it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I do try to, like you guys just pointed out, I try to include a story in all of the shots. It has to be in the middle of something. If it's just a guy standing there, I don't know what to say with that image. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so the process, that's when if I find it uninteresting, everyone else will find it uninteresting. You know what I mean? And so I have to make sure that if the story itself, if I can imagine, oh, this probably happened before, and there's a fat chance that this is going to happen after, then that means other people that are really interested in the aspects that apply to, storytelling, then if they notice that stuff, then I'm golden. I know a lot of people just look at it and they're like, oh, this is nice, click, click, and that they move on. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I know that there are other people out there, probably a fraction, 5-10% of them that are going to spend a little bit of time and they're going to come back or they're going to save it because there's something interesting. And the BTS is, I put it there. Yes, it's useful for everybody else, but at the same time, it's useful for me. Right. You know what I mean? It's like I'm cataloging my progress as I go along as well, right? So if I go back, the number of times that I've gone back to see a setup, what ISO I was using or something like that. I mean, I do that regularly too. Like, how do I set up? Because this is the kind of mood that I want. So I have to go check out that setup again. And then I'll set it up again the same way. And then I'll move the camera around if I want to, find something different. Or I'll play with the lighting a little bit because I don't want it to be exactly the same, But,
and that's a really good tip for even anyone else trying their hand at toy photography, is just recording their BTS. Because just like you said, like if you like a setup and you're like, damn, how did I do that?
How did I do that?
Exactly. Like, and I remember you had mentioned it on a couple lives with you and Paige, and just you were talking about how you like to document your process. And I'm like, that's genius. Like, because there's been times where I'm like, man, I was really good at this point. I haven't done photography in such a long time. But I was like, how did I do that shot? I have to go back and start from square one because I have no idea. So no, when you said that, I was like, damn, I need to start doing a better job of just documenting my process.
Yeah, keeping it all in here is your worst thing. I mean, to me, if I can put it in a place, like I carry, like I write notes down on shots like you wouldn't believe, and my phone is full, and they're probably like I don't know, maybe 100, 200 shots I'm never going to take.
Yeah, but because I keep it up here, it's like a giant kitty litter box. There's nothing but sand.
Exactly.
I just shake it up and a bunch of shit comes out.
I have to go through this shit, read out through it. But no, that's it. So it's just a way for me to share, obviously, but also it's a way for me to just keep everything available for myself as well. I mean, I don't have to keep it on my computer, right? Instagram is like a cloud, essentially. It's just throw it up there and everything, it's just a public cloud.
As long as IG works.
Yeah. I think you touched on a point that's really important for a lot of people to remember, and especially new toy photographers that are coming into it. if you really want to get good at something, and like you said, I feel like I'm always learning. I feel like I'm not nearly where I want to be, and I've got to keep learning. But that's part of how you get better. You got to have that passion for it, because it's not just about the toys. Yeah, you can love toys and want to be a toy photographer, but if you're not interested in photography, it's not going to really go anywhere. You know what I mean? You got to have the passion for it. And you got to do your own research, and you got to experiment. And, I think some people get this misconception that if I buy the most expensive lights like Lume Cubes and I buy the most expensive camera, I'm going to be a Jason B. Michael someday. It's like, it's not like that. You gotta experiment. You got to learn. Everybody's got their own evolution, and it's not just something that you're going to fall into. You're going to have to put that personal devotion into it.
Yeah, but I mean, we all have that oh shit moment. I like what I just did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of trying to recapture that. So I'm a very competitive guy, and when it comes to specific shots, like whoa, you see it as soon as you import it into your computer. You're like, oh, this is going to be really cool. I got to remember how to do that. You know what I mean? So that's happened a few times where I'm very proud of what came out of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, being able to catalog that is, I think, one of the most important things is that, like I keep telling people, it's not the gear. People want to know what your imagination is. They want to know what makes you tick. They're coming in because there's a personality to what you guys are creating. And that's exactly what people are gravitating towards. Sure, you're using action figures that are very, common. People know about these characters and things like that, but your interpretation of them is what they're curious about. So don't sell yourselves short is what I would tell myself. I would tell people to do. It's not about the camera. It's about your creativity.
Yeah, that's such valuable information. And that storytelling element that you're talking about is, it's not easy to achieve. A lot of people, including myself, sometimes will be like, hey, I just want to take a photo of the figure. Let's just do that. But then you look back on it, you're like, that's got no storytelling element to it. I'm literally just taking a photo of Batman and posting it. And yes, it might be a nice photo, but it's not really telling me anything.
Yeah. Well, so I feel exactly like that about my last post, the one with Stealth Gomez.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's one of those things where I knew that I wasn't going to be able to shoot anything in a while. And my parents were here. I know that this weekend my daughter has a volleyball tournament. And then exams are coming up, so I'm going to be grading papers like crazy. And so I just have no time at all, to be able to, and when I mean no time is I actually do have a bit of time, but not enough time to think up an idea. You know what I mean? I got one coming. I'm working on a shot with Chip and Dale, which is I've been. Oh, nice. I've had that in my head for it's probably 3 or 4 months now. Where I'm like, God damn it, I gotta get Chip and Dale out. And I mean that's fun to me. But the Stealth Gomez, I set it up. I was like, this looks good, but I'm using a gun, and I don't like guns, and I feel bad because I wanted to have the least amount of guns in my work as possible because it's just not something that makes me feel comfortable. And there it is, right there. The last post that I did is a fucking headshot, and I feel terrible about it. So it's one of those shots that eventually, I'm really thinking about archiving that shot and just saying I don't want any guns in my things because it just makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad shot. It's not my favorite shot that I've done either. I feel like I got it okay. It's fine. But at the same time, it's just one of those shots that I'm like, what's the story here? Gomez shot a guy in the head, and I'm just so uncomfortable with that.
Huh. That's the great thing about the interpretation, because I'm looking at it and it's like, again, another snapshot from an action movie. I'm picturing, okay, this is one of your typical scenes. Like if you've seen a Mission Impossible or any action movie, there's always that scene where the movie's coming to an end. Yeah. I look at that picture and it's like, it's the movie's about to end. He's making his breakout or he's making his way. You have a Black Skull Brigade in the back, just flying. That's like, there's so much to me when I think about a shitty shot. It's just just vanilla pose, boom, there. I just got the figure. You got rain going on. You got the shot. You got the blood splatter. You got one guy flying in the back. There's so much going on, and I'm like, that's crazy. I don't know. It's just to me, again, it's epic storytelling. I think that's the craft that, to me, it's very inspiring. Where I'm like, damn, like, I need to keep at it, because that's a level where I would want to be at. Is just one shot, you can tell a whole story.
It was fun. It was one of those things that I'm trying to test for myself as well. My wife told me recently, and she says, "Have you tried not posting?" You know, because that's the struggle, right? As a person, you're like, especially when you start posting and you enjoy the feedback that you're getting and things like that, it becomes somewhat addictive. And that's something I've been struggling with recently, where I'm like, if I don't post, I feel like I'm going to just
disappear,
fade
away. You know what I mean? And at the same time, that's not something I mind when I think about it, objectively. And so, but I made that shot with all of those wrong intentions. I shot fast. I shot so that I could have a post. I did something I don't normally do. And so it's just like all of these red flags, and I did it anyway. And now I feel like a piece of shit for not listening to myself. And we're just talking about a picture of a toy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's nothing dramatic about it. I didn't go outside and actually shoot someone.
I totally get what you mean, though, because there's a personal connection to everything that you post.
Yes.
And when you look back at it, you want to feel proud about it. You want to feel confident and, okay, that was a good post. I'm happy with it. But you also have to take that, in context. We are our own worst critics.
Yeah.
We're always going to be the hardest on ourselves. Everybody else is going to be like, what are you talking about, Jason? This is amazing. Like, look at all the different elements that are going on in this photo that show a lot of your progression through the years. We haven't talked about your evolution, but this is like somebody at the peak of their game in my eyes. This, and it's Gomez in itself. So Gomez is sold as a guy that uses guns. He comes with a ton of them. Yeah, it fits the character. I get that you've said that you don't want to use guns. I get it, but there's only so much you can do without guns, including Gomez. You know what I mean? Eventually, you're going to have to break him out and use a shot where you've got the Black Skulls fighting Gomez, and I think what you did here is genius. So don't be too hard on yourself. I get that you're trying to get away from that, and you do it a lot. Where you do many posts where you don't have a gun in there. So
most of them are like, even if there is a gun, he's not shooting.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Right now, I have someone being murdered, and that feels. No. I prefer like my Conan post with the Plunderlings. That to me is 100% me.
Genius, dude.
I knew everyone was going to make him into this like hyper masculine thing. Like, how can I emasculate this fucker?
Talk about a play on a character that was just so genius, man.
It was so much fun. I sent it to the Plunderlings guys, and they were like, "Oh my god, thanks for including us." It was really funny.
Hilarious. And that scene that you have set up with the grass, and you got the rolling hills, and you got the trees and the rocks, and it's one of those shots like I talked about earlier that you just kind of want to sit and stare at and look around. You got some guy hiding behind a tree there. Yeah. You got porgs in there. You're looking at what kind of weapons or what kind of things they're holding. Like, okay, that's all Conan's accessories. It's just genius. It's such a great use of two different properties that you don't think would ever go together. But
to me, they went together perfectly, because they're goblins, right? Why would Conan be fighting goblins?
That's true.
They're just happy to be happy goblins.
That's the creativity of Jason. Like again, like with the raptor in the Mario shot, like that has to be one of my favorite. The raptor in Mario shot, where I showed my kid, and he's a huge dinosaur, and he was like, "Oh, that's awesome." He's like, "I need a Mario now." And my son's 9, so he was like hunting for a Mario figure because he has a bunch of raptors. He's all into dinosaurs. But I showed him your picture, and he freaking loved it.
Send me your address. I'll send him one for Christmas.
Oh, he's gonna be over the moon. He's gonna
be over the moon. I'll be happy to do that. Man.
He was like, and that, and again, like, it's passing it down. I showed him, and I'm like, "Hey, check this out. This guy does awesome picture." And he was like, "Oh," and he's just always messing with his figures, and he's like, "Oh, do this, should I do that?" But that picture, like, he was looking at it for days. He was like, "Oh, he's all, show me the picture again, and he just like, he loved it. He's like, "I love that raptor is chasing Mario." He's like, I need a Mario so I can have my raptors eat him." And I'm like, okay. So it's things like that where you're mixing up different lines and just again, going back to the storytelling. I know we keep coming back to it, but I think to me that's really your craft. Like you do such a great job of storytelling where I'm like, damn, how did I not think of that? Or I'm glad I didn't think of it, because this came out perfect. Like I can just enjoy the show.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's I was talking to one of my good friends, Sharif Darth Dantata, and Leslie was there as well. And I was FaceTiming Sharif, and we were having a good conversation and all that stuff. And he was struggling with the shot, and I was trying to give him like a few ideas. Try to do this, try to do that. And what I try to do most of the time when I'm thinking about a shot is finding links between figures or characters. You know what I mean? What do they have in common? What's the most common denominator when it comes to those things? The Mario shot. Even if it was a pain to shoot, and I didn't particularly like it at all until just slowly recently, when I had it blown up because I was going to a con, and when I saw it kind of blown up, I was like, oh, it feels like it came to life in a way, because on a small screen I was like, whatever. But as soon as I kind of put it up in a bigger format, and I was like, this is actually really fun. I like this shot a lot. But the idea of it was because I was playing Super Nintendo. Just for fun, I was playing with one of my kids. I wanted to show their, what it looked like when I played video games when I was a kid. It's not like Mortal Kombat now, when, blood hits you almost in the face. Yeah. But and I just realized, and I hadn't noticed this before, is that Mario, when he's riding Yoshi, he's punching him in the back of the head so that he eats something.
I didn't even notice.
He's just like, and it's like, and so Yoshi's constantly just being attacked, and I was like, this is a very abusive relationship. What happens when Yoshi loses his fucking mind? Yeah, I says, well, I bet that's what happens, and so that's the idea behind the shot, is that Yoshi was just pissed off. Fuck you, Mario, you're dead.
Yeah.
Oh damn, that's epic.
So Yoshi's Revenge was the original caption that I wanted to go with. But then, because Yoshi's green, I didn't want any of the trolls to go like, Yoshi's green. So I basically called it Jurassic Super Mario World. I went with that. So.
Oh yeah, they would have come after you. It's not the right color.
There was a bunch that were like,
well, Yoshi's actually a Diplobus. They name off a different dinosaur or something.
Yoshi's not a raptor, all right?
Yeah, Yoshi's. It doesn't matter.
Exactly, it doesn't matter. So shut the hell up, everybody. If he wants to use porgs in all of his shots, let the guy do it.
I do that. It's so much fun. They're just birds. It doesn't matter if they're in Star Wars. They look like birds.
There's always some asshole that's trying to be the one that knows something that maybe you didn't know, and they're trying to educate you and get this credibility for it. It's like, I knew that. I used it on purpose.
Point. Yeah. Sharif posted a nice Boba Fett shot this week, and then there's a dude in his comments that was like, I don't think we're going to see Imperial-style troopers from Solo in Book of Boba Fett. And I'm like you're complaining about nothing, because Boba Fett doesn't even look like that anymore. Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, fuck off and your knowledge of stormtroopers. Who cares?
Seriously, sometimes you just want to give people like a big middle finger. Just, if you don't like it, stop following me. Don't comment. There's really no reason for it.
That's the thing. They don't follow you. They just comment and leave.
Yeah, just to piss you off.
Right. Just to try to do something to make you angry.
Yeah,
but we're talking about a lot of your current work, but like I said, I did like a deep dive into your history, and one of the first things you did was like with a pop that looked like yourself, and you had a penguin there. It's like a shiny penguin or something. I'm not sure what was going on.
Dear God!
But is that where you started to discover toy photography?
Oh no, not at all.
And you're kind of just testing out?
Nah, that's just me fucking around because I thought it was funny. What I did is. I saw like Kevin Smith had a pop of himself. I noticed like all these celebrities having pops, and I was like, that's not fair. I want a pop of myself. And so what I did is I've tried to find pops that looked relatively like me. And so I noticed that there was the Mr. Robot pop, and he's just wearing a hoodie with a backpack. And I was like, that's what I wear hoodies with backpacks. I'm 41, but I still look like a child. And then after that, I noticed that they had put out the Infinity War Captain America, and I had hair back then before I started losing it a little bit, and so I had like kind of like what Nate has on as hair, and and I had my beard and all that, and so I basically decided I'm gonna make a pop of me. So I basically took the head off the cap and I put it on the Mr. Robot, and that gave that, and my girlfriend was like, holy shit, you actually did make a pop of yourself. And I said, that's the beauty of pop. It's all about interpretation. And so basically what happened is I went to visit my parents in New Brunswick, and it became an ongoing game with my dad where we would actually hide the figure, and it would basically be a game of tag. It's like who hit it the best, and who's going to find it. So we were hiding it around the house for no apparent reason, just because we're two funny child, man children who have like weird games to play together. And so basically he was hiding it in the plants, I was hiding it in the cupboards and shit. And so at one point, what I wanted to do is just document my travels. And so I was sharing these to Facebook and on Instagram, where I was just putting the pop in front of penguins. It was like, I went to visit my parents. They're further south than I am, and look what we saw. And it was basically my mom's like statue penguins and shit like that. I think there's another one there of the pop. It's basically me. It's a surrogate me and what I'm doing at that point. That was all it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad that you asked the pop question. Like, what character is that? Because that looks just like a Jason B. Michael pop.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, do you have that custom made or something? So I'm glad that you told me where that came from.
Well, you can find one of yourself, man. You could just find a head that looks like you and put it on whatever body you like, and you'll have a pop.
There you go.
Pop Josh.
Genius. Now I'm gonna have to do that. We'll get Josh one with like a hat or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's interesting when you see, okay, this is where Jason, quote unquote, not really started, but that's what you first started posting.
Right.
And then you seemed like you evolved. I don't know if it, I know there was years that went by, but you evolved like quickly. Like you started with Star Wars, like you talked about. You were collecting Black Series stuff.
Yep.
I think it was like your 12th photo. I know you've deleted stuff, but you were already making figures like float. You were using stands and probably using Photoshop to erase the stand or something.
Yeah.
But that was early on in what you have posted. And you see a lot of people go for years and years and years without ever even trying something like that, because it just seems over your head. Like, how am I going to do that? Like, where do I even start? So, and then after that, you started seeing, okay, now he's getting into water shots. You got this stormtrooper that's falling into a dog bowl, and the water's splashing everywhere. So is that just like you experimenting?
Yes.
Okay,
that's awesome. I had reached out. I had reached out to a few people. Jared Serdork is who I asked. Like, how do you make the stands disappear?
Yeah,
I don't understand how you're doing that. And then he basically said, I just used the clone stamp tool in Photoshop. And I was like, what's that?
Yeah.
And so basically he sent me a screenshot with like a circle on it, this thing. And then he says there's a tutorial. I think he showed there was a tutorial he linked to that he had put on YouTube. And I basically did that. And I was like, oh, that's pretty easy. I didn't know it. You select a specific location and you kind of erase it. That's evolved into something different. And then after that, it was basically studying the work of Mitchell Wu and Sergeant Bananas. I was just looking at how they were doing things. I was fascinated by how they could get that water. I was like, how the fuck are they doing that? It doesn't make any sense to freeze water like that. Because I had no concept of what shutter speed was. To me, it was a picture. You just took a picture. You know what I mean? There was no settings or anything like that. And so I started trying to take pictures by adjusting things. So I looked up online how to freeze water in photography. And then basically I read an article about how to work shutter speed and all that stuff. So I basically cranked up my shutter speed to the max, looked into my viewfinder, took the shot, super happy, look at it completely black. I was like, the fuck's going on?
Didn't adjust anything else.
Exactly. I was like, I had no idea. So then I was like, oh, let's see if, and then I figured out ISO. And so I boosted that up to like, I don't remember what. I think it was like 10,000 or something like that. And then I got a bit of light in there, but it was like super grainy. And I was like, that's ugly. I don't understand that. And it's just figuring out focal distance. It's awesome. Just so, it was a painful trial. But when I got that stormtrooper falling into the bowl, that one made me happy because it was the first time that I actually was able to do multiple things in a shot. So I had him falling in, so I froze the water, and then the helmet that was coming off, that was on a stand that was able to erase using clone stamp tools. So I combined a few things. And so even if it's just one of those typical, I'd say, kind of Mitchell Wu type shots, I'm still very happy because it was the first time I was able to do those things.
Yeah. And that you're adding, tools to your tool belt. You're like, okay,
exactly.
I know how to do this. I know how to erase the stands, I know how to do water shots. That continues into your work. You start seeing, you went on like this kind of Ant-Man kick for a while, where you've got Ant-Man like punching through an orange, and he's watching the.
That was a messy shot, man. Because I was trying to use the drain blaster, Mr. Dork's drain blaster technique, but on my kitchen counter. So basically, I had put water down, and I had rigged up the orange with Ant-Man punching through the orange, and I was just drain blasting my counter. And so I had to clean up the entire kitchen after, because there's like little bits of orange and water everywhere. It's just terrible. My wife was, God bless her, man. She's just like coming in home. Is like, what the fuck happened to the kitchen? And I was like,
your wife loved
I was playing with Ant-Man. It's just so one of those things where you feel like a dumbass. Oh,
but you know, you're a lot of that. You're experimenting a lot. You can see it. You know, you got one where he's like jumping from a toilet and he's holding toilet paper.
I still
almost
love
like
that shot. I'd really do that. That's good.
It's almost like he's using it as a way to slow himself down.
Exactly. That's exactly what he's doing. It's like, a Tarzan shot or some shit like that. So, but
illustrated perfectly, man.
Yeah, I'd have to try to do that one again. I like, for some reason, Ant-Man in the bathroom is funny to me.
Yeah, I mean, it works.
That shot reminded me of like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I was just gonna say absolutely.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll give you that whole again, like Jason with the movies, man. I'm like, I'm a movie fanatic, and it's like,
oh, cool.
I'm like, yep, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. That says it all.
Well, I think, what is it, January?
Yeah.
So if you want to go on like an Ant-Man kick again, you got January coming up.
Yeah.
Well, that could be cool. Yeah, man, that'd be fun. I try that. Cool. I'll clean my bathroom nice and spick and span. Take only shots from the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you started doing mashups, or at some point, I don't know if it was before or after the Ant-Man stuff, you started doing mashups. Like you got Vader and Iron Man together.
Yeah.
Vader is basically like, your powers aren't anything against the Force.
Yeah.
You got Mario and Predator hanging out together.
Yeah, that was weird.
TMNT and Star Wars. One of my favorites of yours is Voldemort stealing the pizza from the TMNT.
Oh my goodness. You're the first person to ever You're the first person to ever mention that, because that was a shot where I was still experimenting on how to do mashups. I mean, this was like I was looking through like Richie's Instagram nose ring, and I was like, how the fuck does he come up with these concepts? What's he doing? What's the magic there? And so I was like, well, Nagini has to eat, and they happen to meet the turtles. There's no correlation. There's nothing that goes together with those two things at all. And even to this day, there's no link to be made. But I tried, and that's what's important.
It's what they share is the love of pizza. Everybody loves pizza.
Hopefully, yeah. But
doesn't matter if you're Voldemort or Nagini or the turtles. I thought it was amazing because you've got a lot of elements going on there too, where you've got Voldemort kind of like using his wand, and you can see the turtles sort of just flying off in the background. And then Voldemort's looking at Nagini and saying, pizza time or dinner time or something like that.
Yeah.
It's genius. But I'm just trying to build this thing where you've got all these tools that you keep adding to your tool belt. And now with the shots that you're making, you can see kind of all of that coming together, which I think is why your work is just so inspiring, because you're doing multiple things that are hard to achieve just by themselves, but you're kind of putting it all together in one shot. So it's like, geez, this guy's got some serious skill, because he's doing
thanks. I hadn't thought of that.
Like water effects. You're doing, you're racing the stands. You've got mashups going on. You've got water kind of splashing in the background, and it's all happening seamlessly all at one time. And that's not easy to achieve. I'm not even at that level where I can do all that stuff.
Stop it. I love your work.
Oh, well, thank you. You're being kind. But I look to you up as an inspiration just for stuff like that, like you talked about, Johnny.
Oh, I steal from you all the time, mate.
That makes me proud, actually. I'm not even pissed. I'm very proud about it. Yeah. But like Johnny Bananas, there's people in the community like The Amazing. He was one of my original inspirations. Just how he's able to capture
those guys are great. I love them.
Action and capture a scene. JC Malone was another guy that I looked to from the very beginning. And there's just these pinnacles in the community, or these pillars in the community, I should say, of people that you.
To me, bananas is, and I mean, I'm not, no disrespect to anybody else, but to me, Bananas is still the main guy. There's nothing. To me, Bananas. There's just something about his work that relaxes me. It's a very strange feeling. Whenever he posts something, there's always something I'm learning from it. Very strangely enough, because I admire the risks that he takes. There are a lot of photographers that are really great. I love their work, but I know it's them every time. And it's not that I don't get any feeling or anything like that. I admire the genius behind and the creativity behind it. But Bananas is telling a very different story. And I don't know what it is that I find appealing about him, but it's just fantastic. I'm enamored with whatever he puts out. Especially though, I always have a soft spot for his Iron Giant shots.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're just so great. His lighting is always brilliant. It's Bananas is one of those guys that I'm so happy that now I'm on kind of speaking terms with him. I'm very fortunate to like I'll send him a text every once in a while. Hey man, but there's still a little fanboy inside of me. It's like I hope I'm not disturbing you. Yeah. But I just fucking Bananas, man. He's just goddamn great. I don't understand it. I know I've asked for a couple of prints. I know that he's going to be sending me his book sometime soon, but I just feel like a little like every time I'm like, hi man, how are you? Hopefully I don't ever meet him in person because I probably just pissed myself.
Yeah, I mean he's so I get what you mean though, because he's one of those guys that I originally found and you just started looking up to. You're like, man, I hope I get to even close to his level someday.
Oh yeah.
And then I got a chance to meet him in person at SDCC a few years ago, and I had the palpitations. I'm like, oh my god, it's
and you pissed
Bananas. But he's just as cool as maybe through DM.
Yeah,
super down to earth. He doesn't even look at himself like that. He's just
not at all.
Yeah,
no,
I'm just having fun, man.
I've had with him as well. It's like he's just he told me, I'm just a dude taking pictures of toys, man. And I was like, sure you are.
Yeah.
But it's cool when you think about it. Like he doesn't let that get to his head, even though he's been featured. He works with different companies. His work is just instantly recognizable in the community. Everybody knows who he is. But to him, it's just like, I'm just having fun creating toy photos. That's all I'm trying to do. And I think that genuine nature of him is really, I think, what draws a lot of people to his work. Because like you said, he's very original in his ideas.
Oh, yeah.
His work doesn't look like anything else that you see out there. He's just doing stuff that nobody else is really doing or even thinking of.
Well, even look at one of the shots that I talked to him about when we were doing our live together was the shot that he posted of Raphael in the subway. It's just his hand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, who does that? Who does that? Who decides that that's a toy photo that they want to make?
Yeah.
And I remember telling him, we were talking, exactly. I told him, I said, that takes balls, man, to do something like that. You're relying on your audience to piece this together. Yeah. Because I know what that movie is, but not many people, that are born roughly around my, if they're not born roughly around my time, if they didn't have that when they were kids,
right?
You know what I mean? Are going to know what the fuck that is, you know? And I remember posting it to my stories and I had people messaging me like, what's that from? I was like, fuck, Johnny doesn't give a shit. He wanted to make that shot and that's what he did. That's all. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Because you've got a hand of a figure and that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. And it's the BTS is even better. It's just it's just a hook, man. It's just like a wire holding the hand. The figure's not even there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
I totally agree with what you're saying, though.
Did he take that arm off? That's the thing. Is the arm removable? I hope he didn't break it. Maybe he had a broken toy. I don't know. Anyway, more questions.
I think from what I remember, it might have been just the hand, but now I got to go back and look.
It's the arm. Oh, maybe.
Oh, it is the arm.
I think. I think he might have
missed him there. He'll be back.
We'll see. Yeah. Intermission.
That was
that was Act 1. We got to keep everybody on the edge, and then when we come back right now, it's a good chance. Make sure you subscribe, comment.
There you go.
Get your popcorn. Get your popcorn. Get your sodas. Check out our site. You can get shirts like these.
Yeah, hey, there you go. Hey, if you haven't already, go check out thefigurebooth.com. And me and Josh, for the first time, are actually wearing shirts that match.
A and B.
Yeah, go check out figurebooth.com. You can order one of these shirts, one of the two, whichever one's your favorite. Or if you want both, order both shirts. That's awesome. It's a great way to support the channel. But intermission's over.
Popcorn. Intermission's over. Come and sit down.
Jason's
Show's back on. Act 2. And scene. Restart scene.
Did it
He's
crash? I'm so
That was
sorry.
a good intermission.
That was a great intermission.
Everybody for a break.
Yeah.
They went to go get popcorn. Now they came back.
I got another
Okay.
beer. We're good to go.
I don't know what the fuck happened. Sorry about that. Anyway, you can cut all this out, by the way.
Oh no, all good. This is good.
That was good.
We actually got to plug, our website. It was a good intermission. It's great.
I have no idea what happened. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know if it was just a wire hole in the hand. It could be that too.
Yeah.
You could
Yeah.
use that too.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back and check now because now I need to know how he did that. Because I agree, it was a brave shot. You're taking a lot of faith in your audience to understand what you're talking about. There's probably a good majority of younger people that are following him. They're like, what the hell is this? Is that a turtle hand? Or I don't get what's going on here.
Why three fingers? Why is it green? Why am I scared?
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, we could talk about your work all day long. There's so many favorites of mine from your collection. The Vader playing VR is just freaking genius because he's using his force powers, and they're like, they're not real, sir. They're not
exactly
real.
the sand people.
I think one of the ones that I'm not able to talk. One of the ones that I found, I think you originally from, was that Spider-Man and Green Goblin shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not one of your favorite shots.
I did that fast, man. It was one of those. Yeah. There's a whole story behind that shot. Oh.
I just remember it being shared around a lot. I'm just like,
really?
Okay. I've seen this in probably 4 or 5 stories. Who is this Jason B. Michael guy?
Okay.
And then I found your page. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, now I see what everybody's talking about. This guy does some incredible work. Okay. But I just remember that I think a lot of people, it's Spider-Man, it's Green Goblin, the way that you captured it with them kind of in the air. And,
that one. Okay. I thought you were talking about old one. Oh, I like that shot. The Alex Ross kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Not the old one. All right.
Even that Spider-Man, like when I first saw the pic, I had to do a double take and make sure. I'm like, is that really the Mezco one? That's the same figure I have, and it is. It's like I'm like, damn, I've never tried to get him in that type of pose. And again, I leave mine in the detox, like I just display them. But I saw that, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, damn, he did a epic job of showing off the articulation on that, and just that it almost like looked. I mean, straight out of the comic cover, where I was like, man, this guy captured it excellent. And then I was like, oh, damn, that's the Mezco figure. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Made me feel better about my Spider fig. Yeah.
Which goblin is that? Like what figure?
Diamond Select.
Oh boy, that's an old Marvel Legends. I think Toy Biz back when they were doing it. If you look it up online, it came with a Spider-Man. He was tied by a rope. And Goblin could drag him around.
It's a Diamond Marvel Select.
Diamond Select, exactly.
Yep.
Very good.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I figured why not use it? I have Green Goblin. I don't need any other Green Goblins. That one looks particularly good. The articulation sucks, but I mean, he's on his glider. He looks like a comic book villain.
Yep.
And I mean, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you blended the background with the Digirama, which that's something I want to get more into. But I always look at that. I'm like, okay, how the hell did he get those buildings like that? And I see that it was a monitor that you have back there, and I think the hardest.
My TV actually, I used that, and I think what I did is I don't remember exactly. I remember having to change the position of the image in order to get it the way that I wanted, because initially they weren't supposed to be, standing like that. I had actually, put them on the side on a window and tried to photograph it that way, and then I was like, "What are you doing? You could fix this on your TV. Just have them on stands. It'll be fine." It was the first time I was actually using that smoke technique where I just put like a metal wire, and then I put like cotton batting on it and painted it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And so that was fun. I wanted to have that practical effect because I didn't think I was able to create an explosion after that, or some sort of reactor in the back. But yeah, I like that shot quite a bit. I was happy with the way it came out because I wanted to. There was a. I think I included it in the BTS. It was an image that I based myself on, to create it, but I also wanted to give it an Alex Ross looking, feel in a sense. And I was happy because I got exactly what I wanted. It was in my head, and I was like, "Yay, got that!"
Yeah, definitely captured it.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Alex Ross vibe is the lighting. Because he's known for that lighting. They're coming from the top, or just very strong on one side, really just accenting the character. And I think you nailed it, dude, because it was obvious that photo was very widely accepted because I just saw it everywhere. That's like I said, that's how I kind of found out who you were.
Oh, nice.
I started seeing all these people's stories, and then I was a fan ever since that. But you have a lot of iconic shots like that, and going a little bit further into your sorry, that was my dog.
Doggy litters.
Stepped on them or something?
Wow, that was probably one of the loudest barks she's ever done. Right now, that's great. But you end up doing a Mezco contest shot. Where, it's I can't remember which contest specifically it was. I think it was for Mezco Con or something like that.
It was, It was the first online weekend, 2020. I think we were all going through the pandemic at this point, and that's the first time that they actually did their Comic-Con. So it was the summer edition.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's Lone Roach fighting multiple PSCC or pink skulls in the forest. And first thing I looked at, I'm like, man, that guy got 2 sets of pink skulls? What the hell? And then you realize that's probably maybe 1 or 2 pink skulls that you're placing at different points and then layering it all together with Photoshop, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people, I got a lot of flack for that. Like, Photoshop wins. I was like, fuck you. Yeah. The idea is there, and it was the first time I actually managed to blend a bunch of figures together. So 2 of the skulls stay in place the entire time, and then I just chose 1, which I would dress differently and put them in different locations.
That's crazy.
So I
saw that picture and I deleted my entry. I was like, nope. Delete. I'm like,
it was so flattering because I think even in Paige's Mezco group, that shot got unanimous. I think it got like close to 400 likes in the group, and normally you don't get that type of traction or anything like that. And people were commenting underneath like, "Oh, this is the clear winner. Anybody beats this is going to be weird." Yeah, and it started getting to me a little bit, and I was like, "What?" But the reason why is because I know Richie is a fan of Mezco toys. I know that Spencer is going to enter as well. I know that the One Cam is going to be there, and these are all guys that I really love. I love their work, and so I was like, but the big guys haven't fucking put out the shot yet. They're waiting for the last minute, and so I'm like, well, the buzz is good. I'm very pleased with it. I remember this one of those shots I was talking about earlier, where you're like, oh fuck. I did this. This is really cool. I like that shot quite a bit. And I remember showing my wife, and she says, this is the best one you've done so far. And I was like, thank you so much. This is really cool. But I had planned it for, it was originally not going to be a shot for the contest because I had no idea that the photo contest was coming. I was actually planning on making something with Lone Roach because there was a long story around me trying to find it, and then Paige, realizing, okay, this guy's a serious guy, and this where we kind of became a little bit more friendly. We've been talking quite a bit, and he said, listen, he says, I'll sell you one of mine. And I was like, what the fuck, really? And he sold it to me for retail, which was insane because I knew that he could get a lot more for it, but he knows that I'm not going to sell that figure. Which is why he let me have it. And so when I set up, I had done the trees and all that stuff, and I remember taking the shots and just going like, Jesus Christ, this is really cool. Yeah. And then they announced, I haven't taken the shot yet. They announced that there's going to be a photo contest. And so I figure, now I need to add more skulls because it's going to be the Rumble. How do I do that? Yeah. And so I'd heard about the technique of focus stacking. How do you do focus stacking? So I started researching that and figuring out how to place them in different locations. What makes most sense? How do I keep the framing good? Where would these guys be, from a vantage point to try to attack this guy? And then I was like, throw logic out the door. These manga movies and things like that. You have people flying in from different locations. You have no idea how the fuck they got there. So it's basically like, there's a branch somewhere up there that he's falling from. That's okay. And so then it's basically just figuring out, how to piece this together. And it came together really nicely in Photoshop when I started putting the characters where I needed them, So I would basically leave the camera there, put the figure down, look into my viewfinder, and I was like, okay, I got to move them over just like a couple of millimeters or a centimeter. That's going to be great there. Do I use atmosphere or not and stuff like that? The lighting is going to stay the same anyway. So it was just that. And when I won, it was just one of those things where it was like, Jesus Christ, how the fuck do I, because people had been talking about it. There's no way this is not going to win. And I remember a couple of comments like, if this doesn't win, we riot. And I was like, all right, I have people rioting for me now. It's really interesting. But yeah, so that was even to this day is one of those things where it's still a little surreal, But yeah, no. So I had 3 pink skulls there.
It's a well-deserved win, man.
Thanks.
You really just knocked it out of the park, and I can see why it would blow up in that group. It's just you don't. When I look back before that photo, and now you see people doing it, maybe probably because they're inspired by you, similar scenes. You didn't really see that kind of creativity going on with the Lone Road and the Rumble Society in general.
Right.
Yeah, we have all these different figures, but how are we going to actually blend them all together into something? And you put the PSCC with the Lone Roach, which it was really well done, man. I can see why you won.
It's so much fun. Now I have 6 pink skulls as a result, though, because that was part of the prize. So yeah,
that's amazing.
That's cool. I got the White Shadow Assassin Gomez, and I got the pink skulls as the prize. So
yeah, one of those was something you got to pick whatever you wanted, right?
You could pick whatever Gomez figure you wanted, and then I was like, well, Jesus, I got to pick the one that I'm never going to be able to find.
The hardest one to find.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I remember when they reached out and I was like, okay, well, I'd like to have this because there's a whole thing, right? I'm in Canada. I wasn't allowed to participate.
Oh, wow.
So what I had to do is I had to send my prize to Paige, and he was going to ship it to me. And so that played out nicely. The only thing is that I got caught at customs.
Oh.
And Paige had put that it was the value at $1.30. Customs did not like that.
They're like, what? No.
And as a result, they opened up the shit and they ripped my Shadow Assassin box.
Oh no!
There's a rip on it, and even to this day, it's hard to get them back in. But I mean, everything's intact and all that stuff. Yeah. But there's a whole story behind getting me that fucking thing because they sent it to Paige, everything was fine, and then Paige sent it to me. But it took I'd say at least roughly 45 days to get here. And it was just one of those things where like the tracking had stopped, presented to customs, then I had to fill out a form, and then Paige had to declare the value, and it was just a fucking ordeal to get those figures, man. But now they're here and it's fine. But it's just one of those things where I was like, holy shit. Just write the value at $200 and they won't charge me anything. But it was just it was funny because I had no idea that customs was going to do that. Normally, like we don't really have any trouble if you put down a regular value. But when it went like a big ass box at $1.30, they were like, what the fuck's in here? We've watched Traffic.
Oops.
Yeah.
Exactly. You don't think about it like, oh yeah, they're looking for drugs too. Oops.
Exactly. It's like, can we melt this white Gomez and it turns into this white powder?
This suit's made out of Coke.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm lucky they didn't do that. Well, maybe they did and they realized it was just a toy.
That's funny. That's cool, man. But since then, you've been able to reveal a few things from Mezco.
Yeah.
I think it was Doc Knock.
That was my first time.
Vapor.
Yep.
And Captain Nemo.
Yep.
Awesome.
And
I gotta blame you for being an enabler, like Prime said earlier.
Yeah.
Captain Nemo's not one of those figures. Initially, when I thought about it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put that one in my collection.
Yeah.
It's a cool figure, but it just, I'm trying to stay focused, not getting everything. I see Jason's shot. I'm like, well, shit, there goes that plan.
I was so
now
pissed.
I gotta have it.
I was like, should I just block Jason at this point? I was pissed and excited. I was like, damn it, Jason killed it. And I'm like, all right, I'm buying it. I'm freaking buying it. All because of your shot.
Well, listen. part of me feels bad, but it's good to know that I did my job. You know what I mean? They hire you to sell a figure, and it's essentially to be in, in this position where I have people that are on the fence.
Yeah.
And if it swings that way, you know what I mean? I mean, if you ask me personally what I think about the figure, I think he's fantastic. You know what I mean? I'm very, very happy to have him. I don't know if I'll take shots of him again, but at the same time, I do want, because my father built the Nautilus for me, to have a display for him, because I just think he looks that great. You know what I mean? Right. It's just one of those figures that you guys, even if you don't take pictures of him, he's going to look good on the shelf. You know what I mean? And that's the cool part. You know. Yeah. Well, I can't talk about that. But
man,
this guy.
No.
As I was notifications on everyone.
As I was adding them to my cart, I cursed out Jay. I was like, "Damn you, Jason!" And I was like, "Okay, come on, bye, commit now." I committed to it, but I cursed out your name. So yeah.
But yeah, no, I can't. But anyway.
It's a good figure. It's a good shot. Job well done.
No, it's because something happened after with regards to the figure and with Anyway, well, I don't think it would be a bad thing.
No pressure.
No pressure.
If you don't feel comfortable, that's fine.
Yeah, it's all good.
Well, I'll say it this way. They were really happy.
Yeah.
With the shot, and they also were very happy with my father's contribution to the point where they actually sent a gift to my dad.
Oh, that's awesome!
Wow,
and that was a very beautiful gesture on their part. To send something to my father, like, hey, we really love the fact that you built the boat, and Dad was over the moon. Just to be thanked for that type of thing. Because normally he gets my thanks, and then it's in the shot and stuff like that. But it was one of those things where I was like, that's fucking cool. When you hear about like, oh, they're cold bastards and all, they only want our money. And I was like, it's such a different experience for me, when it comes to something like that, where you're like, no, man. I mean, I have a wonderful working relationship with these individuals. And not only that, they thanked my father for something that he contributed to as well. So it was really, really, really fun. Gesture.
Yeah, and that boat, like just the shot, I think that accessory piece just really set it over the top. It opened the door for the creativity. Like you said, you can do so much with it. There's so much other pieces that you can find, like pieces from an aquarium. He's such an epic figure to have on a shelf that the storytelling goes through the window, and you can just the figure is so cool. So, and I love that aspect of it too, because you've shared that on other times where, like with your Popeye shots, and that he collaborates and he builds either the dials for you or the sets. To me, I love that. It's like, it's more than just taking a shot, but it's involving, it's something that you're doing with family. So that's always awesome.
Yeah, that means a lot to me, because Dad's always been a tinkerer, and he's always been supportive of this type of thing. You know what I mean? He's like, when it comes to the weird quirks that I might have, it's something that he's always participated in some fashion. Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, he wanted me to play hockey, but I had no interest in skating. And being born and raised in Quebec, that's like a fucking sin. I have to go speak to a goddamn priest or something. Like your son doesn't want to play hockey. What the fuck is wrong with you? But I played basketball, and then he got interested in that. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things where he was actively taking an interest in the things just to figure out who the fuck I am. Yeah. And so, when it comes to music as well, it was always something like that. So he's participated actively in specific things to get to know me better. And this is another version of that. Now that he's retired, he's enjoying these types of things. He likes to build stuff, and then he's always like, do you need anything? I was like, right now I have any ideas. And then my mom will call me not too long after that, and it's like, you need to find something for him to do because he's driving me crazy. Awesome. And so it's always a super fun conversation. So it's great that Dad participates in that stuff. And the Nautilus was one of those things, because initially when I found out that they wanted me for the project, I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with this? I have no clue. And it was the first time in a long time that I felt like it was challenging, in a way where I was like, I don't think I can accept this one. I don't think I can do this. Yeah. And then I started researching online. I was like, okay, well, what kind of person is he? What kind of thing does he travel in? Because I knew a little bit about Nemo, not much.
Yeah.
And then I started kind of building this image in my head of what this kind of character would be, what he would be on, and stuff like that. And then I came across I think there's an image of him like using a sextant on top of Nautilus, and I actually think they use that as their main image on Wikipedia. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, if I can nail that shot, then I'm good. I'll do something like that. And then my other idea was, well, if I can redo my Popeye shot without anybody noticing, then I've got another action shot. And so that was the plan. The plan was to try to emulate the shot, the painting that I saw, and then from there it was all right. I'm glad that people enjoyed it. I remember the first shot that the first image that's on my display, where he's just there holding his his glass or whatever. I don't think they call it a telescope, but anyway,
spyglass.
Spyglass, thank you. Yeah. I remember seeing it when I was done. I was like, yes, it looks like a painting. This is great. Yeah. I'm very, very happy. Mm-hmm. So, and then I sent them off, and they were like, "This'll do. Thank you."
Yeah, epic, man, epic. Freaking nailed it.
Incredible, dude. I mean, it's just there's so much about that photo where it looks like the Nautilus is almost kind of cruising through water.
It's exactly what I wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, water's sort of like separating from the front of the bow, and you've got like the different colored, background where you've got
it's rising or setting sun.
Blue.
Depends.
Exactly. Right. You got the birds back there. It's like I talked about earlier. It's one of your shots make me look around the image, so it's not just the figure itself. It's everything that is kind of you're using to tell that story, which really makes that image just go to another level.
Thanks. Originally there were fish in the bottom, but it looked weird, so I took them out. It's like they were jumping across with that, and then but they're like piranhas. And I was like, I don't think I want to sell that image. It's just like piranhas swimming next to Nemo.
And it's genius of Mezco to utilize the talent that they have in the community. Right. I mean, why not? You got people that love the figures and that can do better work than, the old standard shots that they used to have. I know they use De-Amazing now, which he's really upped the game.
Oh, yeah.
But before De-Amazing, they always had like these very just vanilla, generic kind of photos. The lighting wasn't the greatest.
Okay.
Sometimes they would use like these digital backgrounds. I don't know if that's exactly what it was, but that's what it looked like. So
there you go, Nate. Spreading rumors again, starting beef.
Yeah, I don't know. I got to be careful of that because I tend to talk my mouth off here. But anyways, I think if you're going to sell a figure, give it to somebody that knows what they're doing.
No, that's I mean, it's been fun. I'll put it that way. Vapor was another challenge where I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
Doc Knock was that was stressful, man. It was so stressful because you don't want to fuck up, because if you fuck up, then there goes the shot, right?
Yeah.
And so that was like Doc Knock was I think I took 6 shots. I had no they looked or so. I was like, shit, I'm not doing it. What do I do with this guy? And then when I got that vanilla pose, the first shot that I posted, I was very pleased with that because he just looks so sinister. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, well, at least he looks like a badass, and I think that's exactly what I need to sell this figure. Is that at least he looks like he's grinning a little bit as well in the rain. So, and then the second shot that I posted the next day, that was the first shot I took, but there was a lot that I had to do because initially it wasn't tilted that way. It was actually straight. And it was from farther away. It looked weird. And so then essentially what I did is I recropped it into something that looked acceptable. But that was very stressful. I still have shots on my computer that I'll never post because they just didn't work, but it was very scary. And it was a scary, I had the turnaround time was quite short. And
I was just going to ask.
Yeah, normally it's not that short, you know what I mean? Okay. But for this, it was quite short, but and no fault of their own. I think we were still trying to get through like a lot of what was the pandemic and all that stuff. So, it was. I shot like all weekend to try to get something good. And it was one of those weekends where my wife was like just an angel, man. She was just like, just take care of that. I'll take care of the rest. Just take care of that. You know what I mean? This is rare. You know, your wife is to be like, go play with your toys.
Yeah,
essentially, go play with your toys, and then I'll take care of these things.
Yeah.
I'll make sure kids do the homework. I'll make sure that supper's ready and all that stuff. Even if we can't eat on the table, because we're going to be eating on the TV tables in the living room, just so that you can keep your setup there.
Yeah.
You know, so
she probably understands that unless you get this out of your head, that's all you're going to think about. Yeah,
it keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
It's a frustrating experience. Like right now, that Chip and Dale shot is like I woke up at 4:30 this morning, just going like, okay, when can I shoot this? Mom, maybe next week. Okay, well, maybe if I could position them like this, and then they're on the table over there, and I'm just like, well, maybe I could set up tonight. No, because then I'd have to tear it down. It's just fucking annoying.
But the fact that you take that extra time and you really think about it, that shows in your work, you know, because anybody could, take a shot of a toy. Like I said earlier, you just put it in the middle of those, like Prime said, you take it out of the package, you put it on the ground, put some lights around it, boom, there's a shot. I got one done. Yeah. But is that telling a story? Is that doing what you're trying to do? And the fact that you've got Mezco kind of waiting on you, I'm sure that put a little extra pressure. Like, man, I better do something that they're impressed with because I want them to come back and ask me again later on to work with them.
I'd say yes. But with Vapor, I remember my first shot is a shot that I'm never going to show. This is horrible. It's absolutely terrible shot. And I remember taking it and going like, I got one. And then the next morning when I woke up, I was like, oh no, this is not working at all. But the initial issues that I was having was because I can't graffiti worth shit. So I needed to find a way to graffiti. And so the hoods that was written in the background, my wife, Leslie, had to practice calligraphy for a while. And I was like, that's kind of like graffiti. And so I said, do you think you could calligraphy hoods that looks like this in the background? And she was like, I could probably do that. Cool. And so she managed to do that. The rest was already ready. I knew what I wanted in my head after, reading the description, what the kind of character he was and all that stuff. And I was like, having him run for the cops, this is easy. I know exactly what I need to do. And the only idea after that is like, how do I showcase as many accessories as I can to show what he comes with? Yeah. And so, I was like, well, he could have the gas mask flying off. What face do I want to use? I could have the spray paint cans falling out of a bag. We know that the bag comes with it. I want to have him wearing the jacket because that way people will be like, well, I don't need to get, Street Gomez anymore. He comes with a jacket that kind of looks like that. So if I get, Vapor, then I've got that solved and I don't have to pay $600 for Street Gomez. Yeah. And it was just trying to figure out like what can I include that's going to be interesting in there, Yeah. And so it was already set up in my head. All I needed was that fucking wall, and it was so horrible to build.
So many lines. Lines.
Yeah, man, that was it was okay. I remember going to the warehouse, the store anyway, to get the foam. Yeah. And it was like, it's weird because you walk to the cash with like 4 square pieces and they're like, the fuck's this guy building? Yeah. What insulation is he trying to build? People are usually buying these things,
these huge pieces
for to insulate walls and things like that. And here it's like, well, I just need a couple of pieces. What happened?
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes I buy them in like big sheets, but then I'll be in the parking lot breaking them down, and they're like, "Wait, what do you do?" I'm like, "I just need them to fit. Like, I don't need that. I need them to certain
don't
certain
tell
size."
them that. So. It's like this is a way for me to cool down. I'm just an angry guy, and this is the this is the therapy I have. You're fucking up my therapy. Can you please go away?
Yeah. So it's so funny. But
cool, man.
One aspect, I mean, like. You shared that great story where Paige helped you out, and I think a great friendship came out of that. And I think all of us from the community got to see that relationship and to evolve into something new because you guys have the hangout, right?
Yep.
and that's great insight that's provided to the community. The two of you go on there, have great conversation, and Paige has really ran with that and even given us like the interview with Mez and stuff like that. But I think you guys break down so many great topics, especially revolving around Mezco. How did that come about? Just the concept of just doing that on a regular basis. Was it your idea? His idea?
Yeah, I suggested it to Paige initially. He came up with the name of the hangout. I suggested it to Paige initially because he was doing the weekly, and he was trying to have a conversation, but he took a little bit of coaxing because he didn't necessarily want to do live. He didn't really want to talk in front of people and stuff like that. And I said, listen, we're getting to be good pals. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of people that would benefit from what you have to say. And I says, I'd like to encourage you to come and talk with me. I says, I have a little bit of a platform. I've worked with Mezco, I think, at least once at this point. Yeah. He's a hardcore Mezco fan. And we were talking every day about things, you know, and I was like, well, why don't we just do this live? I mean, there's probably a bunch of people that'd like to have a little bit more insight and information. And Paige he'll talk your fucking ear off. You know what I mean? He's always got something to say.
He's a wealth of knowledge.
But sure. Not just that, is that he talks and talks and talks and talks. You know what I mean? So I'm like, well, let's just do this. I mean, I'm happy to listen, man, but if there's an audience out there for you, that'd be great too. And so initially it was just, let's go talk. Yeah. And then Paige is always trying to tinker with shit behind the scenes. He's always working on something. He's always got something cooking. I venture to say that he's got, too many boilers on and shit like that, trying to, confection all these different aspects of stuff. And I'm like, dude, one thing at a time. If you're going to set up for a picture, take the picture. Don't think about this. Or he's building a dio for a shot that he wants to take 3 years down the line or some shit. But that's part of his charm too, right? He's a very meticulous, very focused individual, but to a fault. Sometimes where you're like, come on, man, let's just do this now.
Get to it.
So that's it. I think at one point, what I did is I said, listen, and there was no conceit in what I was trying to do. It was like, listen, people might be tuning in because I have a bigger following than you, but because I'd like them to start following you as well, I said, let's switch over to your channel. Right. And that's when he kind of rebaptized it as the Hangout. Yeah. And so then from that point on, he comes up with topics and things like that. So in a sense, it's a little bit more his baby now. I mean, we've had conversations about, how we were supposed to handle this and all that stuff, whether it's ours or his and things. And, we've just grown comfortable talking with each other. I mean, he's had other people on it and it's gone well and things like that. But for some reason, there's a certain rapport that we have together where he's going to be the more nuanced individual, and I'll probably be the grumpier of the two. Where I'll probably bitch slap a couple of people left and right because they're getting on my nerves. But Paige is trying to keep it PG. But I mean, when it comes to Mezco, I don't think that there's any other person around that has more knowledge than he has. So I mean, and that's our friendship basically started as a result of me wanting to get a little bit more knowledge about the line. I'd heard he was a guy that I needed to talk to, and essentially that's basically we built from there. But so no, I think he's such a wonderful, wonderful individual, and is a pillar in the Mezco community anyway. If you want to talk to somebody and you want a straight answer, Paige is the guy to go see.
Awesome. I enjoy your guys' lives. It's always a good.
There's gonna be one on Friday, but it'll be past because this will be posted on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right, so.
and just I think the insight that a lot of times, because I think Mezco has a rep where they're not so transparent. They just kind of like, putting out the product, whether it's like, hey, it's a tease, but they're not 100% transparent as compared to other toy companies where there's constant communication. There's a lot of transparency. They have and to a certain extent where it's like they're constantly in the limelight, where Mezco will give you the teaser and then they'll kind of go back in the shadow, and then they'll be like, hey, we're working on this, and it's like teasers. It's a lot of teasers where I think that's where a lot of the frustration, and it's a lot of like instant gratification where it's like, hey, I want the pre-order, I should have the product right there and now, because that's all I care about. That's why your guys's dialogue provides a lot of insight where it's like, well, this is really how it works. There's a lot of other logistics that are outside of just Mezco's control, where it affects other companies, and you can see that it's a chain reaction where it's affecting even a bigger company. And I think a lot of times collectors put Mezco on a platform of like Hasbro or a large massive company where they do mass production, where Mezco is a much smaller company, where I think they're like on the Super 7 scale, where if it's they could be on a lower priority with another company that's overseas handling production, because they have so many other companies that they're dealing with. I think a lot of times certain Mezco collectors feel like, hey, Mezco should just give me my product and I don't care about whatever fires they have to deal with due to, I think it was a good topic that Mez brought up was like the fabric. They're showing something and then it could change. And as a collector, like, I don't care about that. Just give me my figure. But it's like, you don't understand the cloth changed. It's not available anymore, or the sample changed, or there was something wrong with the molding. Like, there's so much that conversation. I was like, man, there's so much that a lot of us don't consider. I just want the product. That's it. I don't care if I pre-ordered it, just give it to me. So I think that's what you guys provide a lot of insight.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, like, it's like comparing a Marvel film to independent cinema.
Right.
You know what I mean? Big budget filmmaking, it's one of those things where you can just throw money at it and the problem will disappear eventually. Whereas when it comes to independent cinema, you have to kind of start getting creative. There are decisions that need to be made. There are cuts that need to be made when it comes to those things. And when you're dealing with companies like Mezco versus Hasbro, Hasbro are probably going to be working on some things, for a shorter amount of time, as it may seem, but they probably have something working in the background, for a long time, but they'll show it closer to the release date because they know that that's the way that works.
Right.
But when it comes to Mezco, like you said, Hasbro doesn't have to deal with Disney. They're owned by Disney. They don't have to deal with like Marvel or Star Wars, because they're just like, well, they're our fucking property. We don't give a shit. Right. Whereas Mezco has to deal with Disney.
Exactly.
And where does it coincide? How does it overlap with what they're going to be releasing with Hasbro?
Right.
Is it going to affect sales on that side? Are we looking at different markets and things like that? And to me, it's just logic. I don't have any insight on any of this stuff. I'm not a businessman. But when it comes to Mezco, it feels like a lot of people are putting them at a standard that is just unrealistic, given the nature of how shit works. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
A lot of stuff takes time to process, especially when it comes to high-end, anything. You know what I mean? If you want something that's quality, you can't rush quality.
Right.
So I feel like when it comes to Mezco, and I'm not gonna sit here and defend Mezco. I'm not an employee or anything like that. I'm a fan of the work, but I'm also a fan of Hasbro. I'm a fan of what Sideshow does. Even if I don't buy their stuff, I admire it. But it's just one of those things where the complaining is one of those things in the community that I'm like, what the fuck did you guys do before toys? Don't you guys have lives? Is there something like, why are you waiting next to the mailbox? As soon how it's going to go. You're going to get your thing. You'll be happy you got it. You're going to put it on the fucking shelf, and you're going to go back to the window to wait to see what the other shipment's going to be. Yeah, and I don't understand that process in my head. I mean, you're not even satisfied with what you have already.
Right.
I get the waiting. I get that. Batman '89, for example, we're going up on 2 years.
Long time.
But and there's still a possibility that it might not be a great figure. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. But at the same time, I feel like because of the time they're taking, they're not saying, well, you know what? Fuck it. Right. We're done with this. We've spent so much time on it. Blah, 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 blah. I feel like, you know what? They're saying, these guys, we can't fuck this one up.
Right.
So it's basically what it's going to boil down to. But again, that's just speculation on my part. I just like telling people to chill. It's just toys. But at the same time, you can't talk to people. I've learned that over the years.
Yeah.
Haters are gonna hate, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't call them haters. I just don't understand the thought process of gimme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's never worked at anything else.
Yeah.
Right. I think people have a hard time, like you talked about, understanding that there's a system in place and there's things that can happen that might delay a figure, or, like they could rush that Keaton Batman and they could have probably already delivered it to us.
No.
But is it going to be at a quality that I'm happy with?
Probably not.
Maybe not. That's probably why they're taking their extra time. And to your point, it might turn out to not be that great. The seamless body is a risk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They've never done that before. That's probably why it's taking so long.
And you were talking about transparency. Transparency to me is like, how many companies are actually really transparent? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to a smaller company like this, it feels like they have more direct access to, we'll call them quote unquote fans. Mm-hmm. Whereas Disney or like Hasbro or something like that, sure, you'll have like spokesmen like, Steve or something like that, that are always going to be there. But Steve interacts to an extent with certain people, and he's posting his things and he's trying to keep people in the loop. He's not unveiling anything. He's not showing anything. He's just kind of just talking. He's never really said, "Oh, it's going to be taking a little bit more time for this." I know that there's a few times that he's posted in his stories like, "We hear you. We understand this." But I mean, I don't feel like I understand the transaction when it comes to financials. Mm-hmm. People think that they're owed something.
Right.
Sure, you're owed the figure. Sure, it's gone past the due date. I really get that. But beyond that, I don't think that these people are meant to be your friends, and they don't owe you anything beyond when the product is ready.
Right.
Could they have been more transparent when it comes to Batman? Yeah, I think an update would have been great. I completely agree with that. Because now we're a year past what we're supposed to be. You know what I mean? But then being angry about it, I don't know.
Doesn't really solve anything.
No, I mean, I could watch the movie and there's Batman right there. Do I really want the figure? To be honest with you, yeah. But my anticipation for it is just like, it's gone. Once I get the email, then I'll start anticipating it again. Right. They already have my money. What the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you talked about, the transparency. I had said at one point, like, I just wish they would communicate a bit more when there are delays, or at least just saying, hey, we know you're waiting, we're working on it, we've got this thing going on. And then lo and behold, they actually did that. They sent out an email, I think about a month ago now.
Yeah, roughly.
That basically said, hey, we know you're waiting on stuff, we're working on it. Prior to that, they had not really done anything like that before, where they had said, hey, there's a delay, we understand that you're waiting. When we got that Toy Page interview with Mez himself, he had kind of talked about it. Yeah. And that's the only time they had really said anything about, there's an issue with Batman, and it's taking some time. But yeah, I think they've made strides to kind of improve communication. Hopefully it settles people down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think there's a lot of entitlement in the community. You can choose to pay up front with PayPal if you want. And I think when people do that, they're like, they already took $200 of my money. You chose to pay up front with PayPal. So you can maybe use a credit card if you were that concerned about putting that money up front for so long. They have options, but it's just so polar with, I think, some people. Like, you've got my money, you owe me a product, I want it now.
Yeah.
Not really considering.
I just kind of point to a scene in The Dark Knight Rises where Bane is confronting, what's his name, Ben Mendelsohn. And he says, I paid you a lot of money. And he puts his hand on him and he says, and you think that this gives you power over me?
Do you feel like you're in charge?
Exactly. I feel like you're in charge. And I feel like this is a situation that kind of just goes into The Dark Knight Rises. That's a perfect scene for it.
Dude, that was great. Yeah, if
that's it. Come out of here.
That explains that any better, that's it.
That was epic, JD. Oh man, yeah.
That's great. Yeah, you couldn't say
that
better
yourself.
Not in charge. Mezco's got on with money, and they're the big, powerful Bane. And I'm just pleading to them to please give me what I want.
Yeah, before they blow up our city. So cool.
We all know how it ends for Ben Mendelsohn in that film.
He does not turn out well in that.
Oh man.
Yeah, but I mean, to echo what Prime says, I love to hang out. I think you guys have something really unique. Your different personalities. You know, you guys are definitely totally different people, but you play off each other so well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where Paige is trying to keep you in check and trying to keep things like, okay, let's move along the conversation.
Yeah, and I love fucking with him so much. Yeah. It's so much fun. I try, and sometimes after the show, I always go up and I was like, I apologize for this. And he was like, it's all right.
See, Jason could be a borderline enabler. He can join us on the apology tour.
There you go.
Mario is always offending people left and right. Now we started this whole apology tour starting at DesignerCon this weekend. So yeah, it's gonna be great.
You know, part of Mario's problem is he's always mispronouncing stuff.
He's always offending
that's
people
good.
left and right
at the time.
It's fine. No, Paige is a great guy, man. I love him very much. And I mean, it's one of those things like we can't go a week without talking to each other. You know, even if it's just like first thing in the morning. Have a good day, man. And that's it. And then we don't have to talk for the rest of the day. I'll get a message back. Have a good day. And that's it.
Yeah.
And then
awesome.
We're on. And then other times we'll just talk for a couple of hours and stuff like that. I remember, like, I saw it, like, in the group today. It was like, oh, there's a new release. And that means we got to hang out on Friday. And he wrote, he sent it like a Snoop Dogg just kind of giving the thing like that. And then I screenshot it from him, and I sent him the message after that with a just cat, like, oh, really? Is that what we're doing on Friday? Planning my fucking life? What the hell are you talking about?
That's hilarious.
So,
funny.
It was fun.
It makes sense, though, because that's kind of how me and Prime evolved into this. You know, we're talking to each other almost every day. We're talking about new figures. We're just bouncing ideas off each other. It's like, you know what? Rather than talking in DMs all day long, let's just start a podcast and talk about it with other people.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, you know, it's relatable, because I think we're all kind of doing that behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But the hangout wouldn't be the hangout unless like you'll have his input in the background with all that stuff. You know what I mean? The topics and things like that. It's all him. He comes up with that stuff. You know, I try sometimes. I'll send him a couple of things. You know, but I know that he's always thinking about that stuff, and you know, so yeah, it's mostly his baby now. I'd say it was initiated by me, and then after that, it's just one of those things where I show up and he's happy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm sure he's happy to have you too, because you're, you know, like you said, you guys have different places in the community. He's got his own following with the Mezco knowledge and his connections.
He's the collector. He's the collector side. I'm not that guy. You know, to me these figures are tools now. I remember someone talking to me about that Wolverine shot I did with the Crimson Gomez, and they're like, "How are you chucking dirt at like $500?" I was like, I don't see money, man. I see two figures that I need to get, you know, dirty so that I can get this shot out of my fucking head because it's haunting me.
Yeah.
Oh, and I have to apologize to Nate because he always puts up these wonderful stories where he's selling figures, and I'm like, oh, I want that, and then I back out at the last minute because I don't have any money.
Don't apologize, man. You know, some of that stuff, actually, those conversations sometimes, especially the Crimson one, you're like, oh, this is such a hard to find figure. I really want this. I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't sell this after all.
Oh, that's the
so
thing.
I'm almost glad to go back out.
My dad was here that time too, and I was telling him, I was like, fuck. I made him keep the fucking figure. I want that figure.
You talked me into keeping it, and now it's in my collection. It's not going anywhere.
No, don't, man. It's so good.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so good. I have him too. I have all the Gomez, but that's man. People like don't like the Roach. I don't get it, man. To me, he's like one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
So I need more. Give me.
Yeah, people do love the Roach. I just feel like maybe they feel it's a little oversaturated. I don't feel that way.
Oh no, definitely. That's why they only released 2 this year, man.
Yeah.
You know, in the last 2 years they did released what? 11?
Yeah, I don't know. I freaking love it.
Yeah, I'm all about it, man.
That's
great.
You know, then 2 this year. They had the Gold Hazard Squad.
Oh yeah, and then the Casino one.
Casino.
Yeah, High Roller's coming soon. Got a charging soon notice.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mine's already paid, so I'm good.
Me too.
Yeah, see?
I'm looking for the 5 points pink skull.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So cool.
I know. I feel like that's going to be one of those things that people are like, oh, yeah, I forgot it came with the pink skulls 5 points. And that might be the only time I get them, like the pink skulls themselves.
Yeah.
One and done. It's over.
Oh, but come on. They have people in these groups. They know the conversations. They know what people want. They're working on shit. There's definitely a new batch of pink skulls coming soon. There's no way There's no way they're going to leave all that money on the table.
Yeah, no.
Maybe in space.
Perhaps, but I mean, I'd be surprised if they just came with that.
Yeah,
I bet we'd see most likely like Beastie Boys tribute Pink Skulls, like they had on that poster in the Vapor. That would be fucking killer, man.
That's
just imagine
genius.
that.
Yeah,
that'd be so cool. That Lone Roach is another one. You know, like that people outcry with that. There has to be another version of it. You know, so.
Right.
They see, like Mez mentioned it. He sees what's going on eBay. He knows what these prices are, and he's like, "This is all money that could be mine."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Money on the table.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know. So no. I'd tell people like, just wait a little. I guess you know what I mean. Based on Mezca, the interview with Mez, wait a little. You know.
Yeah.
Maybe down the line you'll get lucky.
Well, it's been great convo so far. I feel like you're one of those guys I could talk to just for hours and still not get down to everything that I wanted to talk to you about. But we'll move into the Dirty Dozen like we talked about. We're going to do a round of the Dirty Dozen.
Let's do this.
So 12 rapid fire topics.
Yep.
You just tell us the first thing that comes to your mind. Maybe we'll have a quick conversation about it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And at the end, we ship you out a toaster that may or may not work.
I want a T-shirt.
You got it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. We actually have both of them on. So we have this one. And
I like that one. The one that Josh is wearing. That's a really cool shirt. I like that. The other one's really cool too. Don't get me wrong. But that one has you guys on it, and I get that's awesome. I love that.
I wish I was that buff, but I'm not. But
I'm working on it. I have a long way to go.
Just walk with your back straight.
Yeah, there you
it's
go.
All good. And a camera pointing up.
Yeah. All about the
pop out the chest all the time.
Oh no, actually, camera pointing down. That way, your shoulders will look broader.
There you go. So you need to have Jason take my photos.
Dirty Dozen.
Dirty Dozen. All right. First one is BTS.
Fun.
Man, see, I think I can't wrap my mind around BTS. I always think I may overthink it. Like, I can't set it up. I don't have the time. I'm moving too fast.
I mean, look at mine, Josh. Mine are so simple. It is literally me just like moving my phone forward and then backwards. It's like, I feel like I should put more time into it. Like guys like Jason, which are showing the setup, the figure, by themselves. You're going around the scene in different ways. Like you're very creative about it. And for somebody that's coming into the hobby, that stuff has got to be like a gold mine of information.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of people did that for a long time.
I try to keep a few secrets here and there. You know what I mean? Because it's just one of those things that you don't want to give everything away. But at the same time, my thinking behind that is a chef will give away his recipe, but it doesn't make the person that's using it a chef as well.
Oh yeah.
So I just use that as a jumping point, and I figured, if I can provide the recipe, then the rest is up to the other person.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Awesome, man.
That's genius.
I'm writing all these down. Next one, Star Wars Black Series.
Crate Luke. We still haven't had that fucking figure, and I'm pissed off about it.
So are you still a big Black Series collector? Or do you still collect them?
No.
I miss being in love with Star Wars. I defended The Last Jedi to my dying fandom breath. And I was handed Rise of Skywalker as a result, and I haven't watched it since it came out. And my issue with the film itself isn't necessarily just in line with the film, but is the conversation or conversations that everyone were having around it. People don't listen or want to have conversations. They just wait for their moment, their time to speak, their turn to talk. And it was a frustrating experience to sit down with people and say, hey, there's actually really good stuff in The Last Jedi. Just because it didn't appease to you as a fan doesn't necessarily mean that it's a piece of shit film. People fail to take into consideration that it's not necessarily the films themselves that have changed, but they've actually grown and matured and see things a lot differently. And perhaps they're actually viewing it in a very different way and without the nostalgia. and we're all chasing those feelings that we had when we were kids because they were so potent. But when we get older, we're supposed to be more nuanced in our approach to things. And I feel like the reaction to the sequel trilogy was missing so much nuance from people that are supposed to be responsible adults. And I get it. I get that there's a certain part where you felt let down in certain things, and you didn't want to see Skywalker that way, and it's been building in your head for years and years and years and years and years. But at the same time, Skywalker to me it felt very relatable because I felt a little bit like him, and so yeah, like I said, I miss being in love with Star Wars. Every time I try to get back into it, I just can't. It's a very frustrating experience. You guys have probably seen that my output Star Wars related has pretty much vanished from my timeline. I can't really stand it. Although I do get a kick out of The Mandalorian, and I love watching that show, and that's possibly the direction I'm going in. I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with. I'm going to go back and watch those movies when they come out in the theater and all that stuff. I'm really glad with the shows that we've been getting. But yeah, I'm slowly trying to convince myself to rewatch the entire sequel trilogy because I love The Force Awakens. I love The Last Jedi. And I felt like, a lot of people had said, The Rise of Skywalker was interesting because they actually gave them what they wanted. And I was like, yes, but you've already seen that film. It was a Return of the Jedi plus.
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about it, and I'm not trying to shit on people are allowed to like what they like, but to me, when it came to the conversation and trying to talk about something that used to make me very happy, it turned sour and frustrating very fast because I just couldn't have a decent conversation. I was called so many different names and shit like that. So yeah, it felt tiring to talk about Star Wars. And so, yeah, I just stopped altogether. Every time I'll go see the Black Series figures in the store, but I can't bring myself to pick one up. Except for Crate Luke. Crate Luke, I'll pick up.
We're at least happy that you got the Gamorrean guards.
Yeah, those are cool. I mean, I like the Stormtroopers that I got. I did the last ones that I got. I got the Incinerator Trooper, and I got some Remnant Troopers as well because I was like, those are from the Mandalorian. I like that. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. That's good Stormtroopers to have. And so I did get those, yeah.
Nice. Lighting.
Backlighting.
Nice.
So backlight, rim lighting. I love that. When I was doing the Comic-Con in Quebec City in 2019, I met a director of photography called Jean Cavana, and he works on TV shows here in the province of Quebec, and he's quite well known. I had no idea who he was, but he stopped by my booth, and he couldn't believe that I was taking pictures of toys. He thought it was fucking great. And that's when I interrupted him. I was like, so I said, what do you do? And he said, oh, I'm a director of photography. I said, well, you don't get to gawk over my shit. You have information I need. And so I says, if you were to look at my things, what would be the one tip that you would tell me? And he says, 3 words, backlighting, backlighting, backlight. And I was like, fine. And not long after that, that's exactly when I switched from lighting from the side front to the back. And I haven't changed that setup since.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, I think seeing a lot of your BTS kind of made me think about that more.
Mm-hmm.
Is the importance of backlighting, because you just don't think, okay, why would I put a light back there? Because I'm trying to light the figure's face.
Yeah.
No.
But it does so much to light the background and put that accent light kind of behind them to really make them stand out.
But it cuts them from the background, essentially, is what you're creating that 3D aspect, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So what I try to do is just create that rim lighting all the time when they have it over, like, so that they have that. I started observing that in people. Whenever you're talking to individuals and stuff like that, whenever you're sitting down on a couch or something like that, your light source is always going to hit the individual, and you're always going to have that slight accent where you're like, why is the black shirt white in that spot? And it's just because that's the way that the light reflects off of it. Trying to replicate that in toy photography has been really, really fun.
Next one, toy photography.
Puzzle.
Oh, nice. Nice.
It's well being able to mix elements together and try to get the image out of it. So it's essentially putting pieces of a puzzle together. Where do the trees go? Where do the lights go? Where does my background go? Where do I place my figures? Where do I place my camera? essentially it's just a giant puzzle you have to piece together in order to get that final image.
Yeah. No, yeah, well said. Mezco.
I was really thinking about this one.
Yeah.
No. It's because oh shit. What would I say? Fortunate.
Okay, I would say we need a buzzer. We should give him like 5 seconds, and then that's it.
No, sorry about that. It says fortunate or lucky, I should say. I have a rapport, and they enjoy the way I interpret their figures.
Nice.
They've been very kind with me, and I'm glad to live up to their expectations. So I've been incredibly lucky.
Awesome.
We all benefit from that relationship, Jason.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
G.I. Joe Classified.
Nothing. I sold off what I had. Complicated, I'll say that. You put out product that is unbelievably difficult to find, so fuck you.
Yeah.
So I don't understand it.
If you listen to the early episodes of the Figure Booth, I just shit on them so much.
Well, to me, like I had a couple of them that I sold them to a buddy of mine that's trying to find them.
Yeah.
I managed to help out Sharif recently because he was looking for that new Zartan, and so I sent him 2 versions. I got them here at GameStop in Canada. I sent them to him, but G.I. Joe Classified, I would say complicated.
Yeah.
I was going to say garbage at first, but they're not garbage figures. But I think there's garbage marketing around them.
Right.
We did do that dancing Destro shot, which was amazing.
I love that. That was a fun one because it was one of those instances where I felt that, again, it's about subverting certain characteristics. Destro, I remember when I was watching the cartoon, he always had that weird voice. You know what I mean? And I figured that Phasma had more of a really interesting presence. So, but it was basically like, oh, he has a chrome head, she has a chrome head. Why don't they dance?
Yeah.
We get along really well together.
Yeah. I love that shot. I actually blew that shot up, and it looks really cool blown up. It doesn't do it justice on the small screen.
Next one is Photoshop.
Well, when necessary.
Cool.
My shots, a lot of people are like, oh, Photoshop 1. And I'm like, well, yes and no. I mean, like, to me, I try to, it's 80-20. 80 practical, 20 Photoshop, or 85 practical, 15 Photoshop.
Yeah.
I try to do as much as possible in camera, but there are certain things that I'm like, you know what? I can erase the stand today. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Who cares if I'm not hiding it? The whole ACBA versus whatever stuff, I'm just like, do we really need to fight about this shit? Don't we just like toys? What the fuck is wrong with you people?
Yeah, and I think there's a way to use Photoshop. Like, I don't get the people that say you can't, like, they don't think it's, toy photography. It's not ACBA. Like, I'm only using it to erase stands or
it's
to
a waste
maybe.
It's a waste of conversation.
It just
I did it all
sense
tangibly. That's great, man.
Cool. Yeah, I mean,
really,
that's awesome. Yeah, but if I'm using it to erase a stand, is that really a crime? Like, I don't see what the issue is.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right. Next one is inspiration.
Everything. It's very difficult when I am lacking inspiration. However, inspiration's all around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could be affected by, like, I was talking about it in an interview that I did another time. It's like, it could be a sound, it could be a song that's playing, a mood that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
It could be just picking up a figure and a feeling that you get from that.
Yeah.
It's so many different things all at once. But inspiration is everything. Everything's inspiring.
Yeah.
You guys inspire me all the time. I love your stuff.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, but I agree. It's probably one of the most difficult parts of toy photography is keeping it fresh and trying to think of new ideas.
That's impossible, though. That's the thing. Everyone's going to go through a rut, but you need to go through that rut so that eventually you get out. It's scraping the shit so that you get a better vantage point for whatever the hell's down there. You know what I mean? It's
I got a
necessary.
visual. Got a visual just scraping shit. Just
Yeah.
There's got to be something better down here.
Not even the people that you like the most are always going to put out a shot that's going to disappoint you.
right.
But it doesn't matter. They had to get that shot done so that the next one is going to be better.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? So inspiration is from everywhere, and it doesn't need to be consistent. That's the pressure people put on themselves to be perfect.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
No,
It's not
man.
realistic.
All right. Next one, Mayfix.
Wobbly.
Mafix. Wobbly.
Well, I remember, and this is how much of my stalker I am on your page. I remember the one time you had the Mayfix Miles and you're kind of just shaking it around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just like
So
all over the
loose.
place.
I was just so pissed when I was happy I got a couple of shots out of them, but now I can't even hold a pose.
Damn.
But you did some killer work with that TDKR Batman, especially the mutant leader shot where he's like
great,
air,
yeah.
kind of like.
But he's a little bit more
So
buff,
cool.
right?
Yeah.
But as soon as I take a leg, one of those fucking legs falls out.
Oh.
Ouch.
You know what I mean? I got Jordan recently, and that's it. One of the arms came out. One of the legs popped off, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Why can't you guys just make things that stay together?
Yeah.
So that's rough.
All right. NECA.
Brittle.
Elaborate. Brutal as in the figures or brutal
Fragile.
as in collecting?
Yeah.
Okay. Fragile.
Like every time, like I'm really happy that the Ninja Turtles have stayed together, but to this day, I haven't bought I haven't bought Predator. I had to return 4 Predators to the point where the shop owner was like, I'm not taking this back. And I was like, dude, I called NECA and they said that I had to bring it back to the store.
Yeah.
There's just so much breakage in their things. And that's it. It depends on which figures that you're going to get.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
Predator was terrible. The Ninja Turtles have been really great so far.
Yeah.
I've been quite lucky. I haven't broken anything there. But yeah, most of the time when I see those figures, if you drop it, there's some fucking part that's going to fly off.
Yeah.
I feel like
All right. And last one. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. McFarlane.
I was just
toys.
going to say, I feel like they've gotten better, but I agree.
No, they've gotten better, definitely, yes.
The only Keaton Batman in my collection, I broke its leg the last time I tried to use
There you
it. So it just killed me. But yeah, McFarlane.
Uninspiring. McFarlane Toys, the issue that I have with McFarlane Toys is overproduction. What I'd like for them to do is that, to just focus on making articulation better. Because it's not normal for me to take a figure and then have fucking sore joints and fingers just trying to place the damn thing or to pose the damn thing. That being said, when it comes to like sculpt work and all that stuff, which is the selling point, if ever you listen to Todd, look at the detail, and you're like, yeah, I saw the fucking detail.
Yeah.
It's really great. You guys, the detail has never been the issue.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like when it comes to posing the figures, they're frustrating.
Yeah.
And I know that guys like Mr. Lee are very good with that. Rob from Rob Toys is really good with that stuff. You know what I mean? They find a way to do it. But most of the time when they're shooting McFarlane, they're going to be in vanilla poses, which is exactly what Todd wants you to do.
Yeah.
And that's not me criticizing their work. They manage to make these toys look fantastic, which is fucking cool.
Right.
But I'd just rather see Mr. Lee do Storm Collectibles because that's when his work really shines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He really knows how to do it. And the articulation plays a great part. I've talked to Mr. Lee about it. And he says, people talk about articulation and posing and all that stuff. And I mean...
Oh, no.
I think Toddy Mac came in and got rid of him. He was like, nope.
Is that a line back there?
Got it. Lion came in and cut it.
I hear you talking.
Like, no one.
Shit.
Intermission part 3. That's
cut
it.
You.
Stay for the after end credit scenes.
Well, luckily we're almost towards the end here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had more topics.
Nope, that was the last one. We end with Toddy Mac.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
let me.
Oh, he's back. All right. See,
Toddy Mac heard you, man. Toddy Mac heard you.
That's all right. My battery's dead, man. I got like 3% left, so we're gonna have to cut it anyway.
Yeah, we're right at the end here. So
But yeah, so no, that's it. That's what I had to say about McFarlane. I mean, they're great. They look great. It's just that I have trouble. I don't know if it's because I'm getting old, but they hurt my hands.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there too. I think I got a couple blisters and stuff from handling one of their.
And that's
figures.
why I find them uninspiring, is because it gets frustrating to try to do something with them.
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, but hey, just want to give you a huge thanks again, Jason, for taking the time out of your day to be here. I want to be like Mike. Hopefully for anybody that's listening, you've maybe learned something here from Jason or got to know him a little bit better. But yeah, it was awesome to get to know you a little bit better here and be able to talk to you, Jason. I've talked to you in DMs, and I'm a huge fan of your work. Continue to be a big fan. Thank you for taking that time to be here.
Oh, thanks to you guys. You guys are great guys. I really like talking with you guys too. So let's not pretend we're not friends. You don't have to be fans of my work. We're buddies. You know what I mean? So I really appreciate your support and constant and all that stuff. And I love you guys' work as well. And so to me, I'm just chatting with two guys that I know already. So this has really been fun.
I'm not a friend. I'm a stalker. So I'm just going to stalk Jason.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep
I make things weird. I'm going to make
a friend too.
Totally okay with that. I'm fine.
Yes.
But so don't forget to send me your address so I can send your boy that print there.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right, Jay. Well,
Make
thanks
sure
for
we
coming
get your
through.
shirt out too.
We're gonna put you in the green room, and then we'll get your details.
Awesome.
All right. Man, what another great conversation with another member of the toy community there. Make sure you guys check them out. And I got a ton of insight from a lot of tips. Know now what to do, what not to do, and hopefully I get a chance to do it.
Yeah, hopefully that helped you guys as well, maybe with something that he said or some tips that he provided. Go check out his work. I'm sure everybody listening knows who this guy is, but if for some reason you've been living under a rock, you don't know Jason's work, go check him out on Instagram. Make sure you follow his page, and also maybe turn on those notifications, because if we've seen, some of his past work with Mezco, I hope in the future they give him more figures to work with.
Yeah.
Because he just kills it every single time. So good episode, man. I love this. Thanks to everybody for listening. If you haven't already, please go subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to the Figure Booth. Turn on the notification bell. Hit that like button. Comment if you want. We'd love to hear from you. We love the great reception on Plasty's video. We got tons of comments and likes and just views went crazy. And we just appreciate all you guys for coming out and showing that love. So thank you.
Yep. And you guys have been your host, Josh, a.k.a. Prime to the First. You guys can check me out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all under Prime to the First.
And I've been Nate, a.k.a. FigureFan_Nate. You can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, occasionally on Facebook. I think I'm going to stop saying that because I'm not on there at all anymore.
I've been looking for you. I never find you there.
Maybe I should start calling it Meta. That's what it is now, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can find me there, maybe.
All right. We can find them there. And as always, guys, you guys have been listening to The Figure Booth. Peace out.